more your area of things.
My area?
Area.
I don't know what just happened.
I've heard you use it in real life.
We segued to Gary being a millennium.
I don't know. I just had visions of areolas in my head.
Visions of areolas dancing through your head.
Just little nipples. Just.
I was talking with Jerry, so I missed that. All I heard was little nipples.
We went from era to area to areolas.
So I will say this: speaking of nipples, after 3 years of having mine pierced, finally got titanium. And upgraded. They quit hurting.
Oh, nice.
So
you might have been 3 years.
Probably 2 years.
2 years of possibly having a reaction to cheap metal, and now you're finally upgraded.
And they quit hurting. Like Stephanie was like, you know what? I'm going to go.
Why is cheap metal not the name of like a joke band?
Cheap metal sounds like a band from the 80s.
It seems like something that Jack Black would do.
Right. Well, or like the Steel Panther band. Did you ever listen to their stuff? No. Oh God, go look up Steel Panther. It's so fucking
everything
funny.
David hates about the 80s.
Yeah.
Plus a lot of tits.
I feel like I know one of their songs.
You probably do.
They're a modern band that's completely 80s hair metal, like Sex Girls Rock and Roll.
Right, but they're a parody band, yeah. So they're
self-aware.
Yeah, they're very self-aware. Well, that's enough about the 80s. Do we want to do a podcast?
Nah.
No.
We'll talk about the 80s.
We're just going to skip it today?
Yeah, let's do the 80s podcast.
Oh, God, we should totally do an 80s... We could do an 80s themed podcast someday.
Yeah.
That'd be rad. I'm going to...
We have to dress like we're in the 80s.
Oh, dude, yeah. I'll bring my
Which
guitar.
is like every day for me.
I'll wear blue jeans and a band t-shirt. That's the 80s. And 90s. And now.
All right. Else. Oh, I'm totally adding that to the calendar. All right, well... Let's do this. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Southern Fried Geekery podcast. As always, I'm Caleb Alexander McKenzie.
I'm Craig Lance.
I'm Sean.
I'm Jerry.
And we are back. And we have missed you all. It's been a week since we've been able to get around the table together. Had a really good time last week talking about a local con we went to. You can see a lot of that stuff and more if you go to our social media pages. We are on Twitter and Instagram. We're at SFG Podcast on both of those. And we're also on the Facebooks, and we're the Southern Fried Geekery Podcast. And Jesus, you just exploded. Jerry doesn't have a head now. It just flew right off his shoulders.
It was amazing.
That was insane. Anyway,
welcome back. His head's back.
It just floated down from the ceiling and reattached itself like a symbiote would, which is going to be awesome. So anyway, yeah, Facebook, that's a place that we are. And we do a lot on Facebook. Post a lot of articles, have a lot of conversations. But Sean also is kind of our Facebook guru in a way. He does a lot more with Facebook, I think, than the rest of us do.
I try.
He does, and he does a really good job. So beyond everything he already does, Sean is starting a new project for the month of October. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that, Sean?
Well, a new project for the podcast page. If anyone who's been my friend on Facebook for the last, I just realized today, 7 years. I have a tradition every October. Because it started off with, we're getting towards Halloween. Let me watch a whole bunch of horror movies. And it started off me watching like all the Friday the 13th or all the Nightmare on Elm Street in October. Then I got Netflix, and Netflix has horror category. So one day I just kind of realized, okay, why don't I start every day, go onto the horror list, and watch the very first movie on that list that I haven't seen.
Right.
So every day in October, I watch a new to me horror movie. It may be old, maybe new, indie, big budget, low budget, anything. As long as I haven't seen it, I watch it. It's been really fun, and usually I'm posting on my personal page, but this year we're bringing it to Southern Fried Geekery. I'm hoping to get a good response from our listeners. I'll be posting the movie that I'm going to watch before I watch it. So if you happen to catch it right then, watch it with me and share what you thought about it on Facebook, on that thread. What I'll also be doing, because Caleb is full of good ideas to make me work around my shyness, is I will be immediately afterwards posting to our YouTube page my thoughts on the movie.
Look at you go, buddy.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why you're shy about it. You have a pretty face. You look good on YouTube.
Only when I'm a lumberjack. You know that.
Hey, Sean.
Sir.
I have some recommendations for your horror
Shut
list.
the fuck up, Craig. Craig is referencing to all my lovely friends and our lovely followers who may inevitably do this. Every year, even though I explain it's random and I go to the list and whatever they pick, they always like, oh, you should watch this movie this month for your marathon. I'm like, that's not how random works. But thank you, and I appreciate your support.
Nice.
Well, I actually witnessed that happen to you the other day.
It happens.
It does.
I will say, though, I did watch, was it Mandy last night?
Yep.
Pretty wild flick.
Is that the Nick Cage movie?
Yeah. was fucking nuts.
I heard good things, and that was the movie that, and then Jerry brings that up, that was the first movie so far this month that I was recommended I should watch for my random horror movies. I hear good things, but unless it's on Netflix, not going to happen this year. But I might check it out on my own time.
So I just emerged from like this deep well of like academic hell. So that's still in theaters, right? I'm not insane.
Mandy?
Yeah.
It was a indie film.
Okay.
I had the way you could watch it, as far as I know, they have it on YouTube that you can rent.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I may have to check that out.
So.
Roger and I were talking about going to see a movie tomorrow. So if there's time. But another thing that we do on the Facebooks, besides Sean's future plans of horrific amazingness, is Sean draws a daily sketch. Every day, it started this, if I'm not mistaken, as a kind of a New Year's resolution.
It was, yes.
And you've stuck with it, which is awesome, which not a lot of people do. Millions of smokers quit for 47 seconds. But not you. You draw.
I'm in the 270s now.
What did you draw this week, dude?
All right. First up was, I'm going to probably mispronounce his character's name because I sadly haven't played this game. Dual Magus from Dragon Quest VIII, a PS2 RPG from Square Enix. As requested by Joshua Ford.
Nice.
After that, it was Baby Kal-El in his spaceship as he, fleeing Krypton. That was requested by, no surprise, Mark Alloway, a friend of mine who's a huge Superman fan.
That's awesome.
After that, it was Felicia from Darkstalkers, the video game. That was requested by Tori Rogers.
Bye, Felicia.
Now, Tori is our friend that has the her and her
Rebirth Comics.
Yeah, Rebirth Comics. Yeah, they have kind of an online store of.
They have an online store, and they set up at SpotCon that we went to.
Oh, they did. Yeah, we ran into them.
They started setting up their own booths now, and wishing them the best of luck.
Yeah, they sell a lot of like ephemera. They sell a lot of like pops and toys and comics and everything else.
Anything nerdery, geekery.
Yeah, so shout out to those guys.
Indeed. After that, it was Raven and Beast Boy in the Teen Titans Go style.
Yeah. You nailed that one, by the way, though.
Oh, thank you.
Just want to throw that out there.
That was requested by one Kenny Starlin. After that, I had Cliff Dagger from Mask, and that is the 80s cartoon of the vehicles that transform into other vehicles while their pilots wear masks.
That's awesome.
And it's actually I know he recommended, at least I want to believe, he recommended because that was the toy I always wanted as a kid from Mask, the Mask line, and I finally got one later in life.
Nice.
That was from my good friend Adrian Hill. After that, I requested the awesome Wendy Freeman rocking out on drums, and that is a quote from one Caleb Alexander McKenzie who requested that drum.
I did. I'm really.
Did you see that she wants the original of that?
She does want the original. It's going to be $500. No, I'm going to totally get that to her one way or the other.
Yeah, I'll hook you up with how to get that to her.
And finally, wrapping up, we had an obscure character, which I always like learning new characters. White Tiger from Marvel Comics.
Oh, is he a new character to you?
New to me. I've never heard of him.
Okay.
That was recommended by one Frankie De Jesus. And this, looking into the character, just because I didn't know anything about him, it is a Puerto Rican hero.
Yeah.
At least the original White Tiger. I know like someone else is taking the mantle.
Yeah, it's a mantle, so it gets passed around. So it all comes with this this talisman on a necklace that gets brought up, and it's kind of the spirit of the wild. Really cool.
It was cool. And honestly, just briefly reading his bio, one of the most realistic people I think I've ever seen turn superhero. He quit because he's like, I'm getting tired of fighting crime and getting almost killed. I'm like, that's a legit reaction. Just because you get the power doesn't mean you're going to be a great hero. This is fucked up.
People actually shoot back. This is bullshit.
He was one of the main characters in that Spider-Man animated series that they did a couple years ago. Peter went to school with him and a couple of other superheroes as well.
Awesome.
But yeah,
I've seen this a female. There's been a female character now that's taken over the mantle, but they did the original, the guy in the newer cartoon. Pretty sweet, and just like I said, Puerto Rican hero. I'm glad to always see some Hispanic representation.
Yeah, no shit, man. It's a good character. I'll try to do some Googling and tell you some stories that you can look up.
But that does it up for the week. I've still got some on the list, but I need more requests, so feel free to keep us up on all social media outlets.
Badass, dude.
Yeah, so guys, a little announcement here. If those of you that follow us on Facebook know, we got our t-shirts in for the con.
Yeah, we did.
For Comic Conway. We will be selling them at Comic Conway for $15 each. If you know the code word, which we will announce for the 2 episodes leading up to Comic Conway, you will get them for $10 each. We aren't trying to make money off of these. We're just trying to recoup our cost on them. So hit us up. See us at Comic Conway. Get your t-shirt. all of that good jazz.
Yeah, man.
And your other merch that we're going to bring.
They look great.
They do. They look really
They feel
good.
Great.
And we're going to have some other fun freebies that we're all kind of putting together, stuff out of our collections, things of that nature to give away, along with nice swag.
Yeah,
So
and
come see us at Comic Conway.
And all of the stuff, we're selling the T-shirts because we have to recoup those costs, but all of those costs go back to the production of the show.
Absolutely.
So we're trying to find some ways, because it's not cheap doing a podcast. So we're trying to find some ways to offset some of those costs and still provide something awesome.
Yes.
And Craig has been fronting and doing a lot of that stuff out of his own pocket. So we want to just really tell you how much we love you.
No, well,
I just want to, I'll blow you later.
I'll do
Sweet.
it now.
Double blown podcast.
Don't look at me, my girlfriend's
just keep eye contact with her and don't be weird.
You look at us, Jerry.
So one of the things that we also do on our Facebook page, and here's the point of Facebook. Here's why we have a social media presence. We really like connecting to our friends and the people who listen to the show and the people who are interested in the things we are. We want to create a space where you can have these conversations and, a kind of a positive place on the internet, which is hard to find sometimes these days. So one of the things that kind of just naturally progressed in that is that listeners started asking us questions. And so we decided to bring it to the show. One of these people who has been very, very good about getting us questions, and some very good questions, is our buddy Tyler May. He lives here, somewhere around here in Central Arkansas, and
Just of those in Sherwood.
I think like right across the street at the apartment.
yeah, not too far away. Really, really cool dude. He has a lot of really profound questions that go kind of outside the things that we would naturally think would pop up. Some really intellectual questions.
Indeed.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I really enjoy it because it gets us thinking about things that we might not otherwise. So this week we're bringing two of his questions to the show to kind of roundtable a little bit and talk about. So the first of these questions, and the one that I'm kind of most interested in, just kind of academically, is, can sex be an educational part of comics? I love this question. So I'll let somebody else kind of kick this off. So how do you think sex can be an educational part of comics?
Personally, I mean, it can definitely it can be used well in a comic to kind of teach about what sex can be. But honestly, I think a better way of kind of phrasing that is, I believe sexuality can be explored in comics, and it has.
Right.
I think more so than like kid learning what sex is in a comic. I think learning about that sexuality, like a few examples come to my head, and Kayla, you might even know more, especially the direction I'm going with this is like blankets.
Yeah.
That being a big one, and just books that are done in a serious and mature manner about exploring.
There's other books like my favorite thing is Monsters by Emil Ferris. There's books like This One Summer by she's doing the X-23 book right now. Mariko Tamaki,
Right,
and her cousin Lillian did that book.
I mean,
tons.
Yeah, because like I think that's definitely where the comics can be a learning tool, more so with exploring that kind of thing. Because don't get me wrong, you open up any book, you're going to see a scantily clad dude or a scantily clad woman, and you're going to learn like, oh, this is what I like. But like, I think comics as a medium can really go deeper than just talking about sex and just talking about what's acceptable and what's people's sexualities and how society deals with that. Open up the reality of it.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as the physical act of sex, I mean, yeah, of course it can. It's used to show, just like in any other art form, it's used to show how sex can be used for gain, how sex can be used for love, how sex can be used just for fun. I mean, how it can be abused.
Right. And I think how it can be abused is kind of what got Tyler thinking about this question in general.
Sex in comics has taught me a lot. Like, if you can stop time whenever you climax, then you should definitely rob banks.
I mean, that is a superpower we all want.
Referring to sex criminals.
I mean, the reality is, though, is if any of us really had that power, time would never start up again.
We just wouldn't ever do anything. We would never
You're
go
going to
anywhere.
have that cool down period, though. And they actually did, Matt Fraction and Chip Zdarsky actually did a sex ed book called Just the Tips.
Yeah.
And then I think at conventions for a while they were handing out like hand sanitizer and sex criminals condoms.
That's awesome.
Which was pretty fantastic. So
yeah, Stephanie, my wife, found that just the tips book.
I know. Do you have that?
I do have it.
That's
and
awesome.
She brought it to me. She's like, "Is there something I need to know?" And I'm like, "No." And I
just the
explained it to her,
tip.
and she was just laughing. She wasn't being serious, of course, in any of that, but it was hilarious.
Yeah.
But yeah, of course, it can be used as educational purposes for lots of reasons.
Well, and so when I first saw that this question popped up on our Facebook group, the immediate thing that popped into my head was not really the number of times I've seen sex pop up in comics, but it really got to what is a comic? What is the definition of comics? Comics are just images and words juxtaposed next to each other to form a narrative. So in my head, I was thinking about ways I've seen this done before. If you've ever flown on a plane, one of the things that happens before you take off is you get the nice little pamphlet and the person who stands up in the front that's telling you, hey, the exits are over here. There's going to be a thing drop down in case we die. And, breathe first, help your person next to you breathe, all that fun stuff.
All the people are as happy
sex analogy I've ever heard.
Well, no, but
dying in an airplane.
all of those people look like they're as happy as Hindu gods.
Right, but essentially it is a comic that is telling you what to do in the event of an emergency on an airplane. We have those for sexual education as well. That's a comic. It's a comic teaching you about how, not to hyperventilate on a plane. You have those about sex too. One of the first books that, as a child that I was ever given that kind of described sex. It was honestly a way for my parents to get out of having the birds and the bees talk. They were like, here's this book. It was a illustrated.
Masturbation is evil.
Well, but it was an illustrated book that kind of explained the differences between male and female anatomy. And that was a comic. It was explaining, hey, in the heteronormative, I don't want to offend anybody, in the heteronormative ideology of what sexuality and what gender is, it was saying, hey, girls, quote unquote, have vaginas, boys, quote unquote, have penises. Now, we all know that transgender is a real thing and it's incredibly more fluid than that. And that was one of the first ways I found out that, not everybody has little dicks, that girls do have something different. I'd never seen it
Did they call
before.
it little dicks?
No, they didn't. They should have. That would have honestly prepared me for a lot of disappointment when I came out of the closet and saw a lot of little dicks. But yeah, I think there's, not only do I think it can be used as a educational example, I think that is one of the best ways to provide education, because you're mixing the informative transition of knowledge through words with a visual stance. We're not hiding things. You're not like, you're saying, nope, this is what it looks like. This is what it is. This is, this is what you do with that. And goes here. I think it's actually a very, it's a very good and simple way to teach kids what sex is. And then, that blossoms into what you guys have talked about in comics and the ways that it's shown to show adults having sex, shown sensuality and sexuality, to show the humorous side of how it's being used in sci-fi. But if you just get at the bare bones of what, quote unquote intercourse is, I think it's a great way to teach kids about the birds and the bees conversation.
But not Savage Dragon.
No. I mean, maybe.
That's pure fan. I mean, if you want to go wild, go wild. You can learn a lot from that book here lately. Well, I had to drop a Savage Dragon.
I mean, we live in 2018, and most kids find out about sex by going on Pornhub. So
that's true.
Speaking of Pornhub, let's just really go off the rails here.
What a segue!
I was listening to our friends over at the Longbox podcast, and besides all of the other amazing things that they say, because I really do love those guys, apparently, if you put a video on Pornhub and it gets a certain number of likes, Pornhub sends you a bomber jacket with your name on it.
That's amazing. I heard about making money through sending videos to
apparently
Pornhub,
you can get a personalized Pornhub bomber jacket, and if those motherfuckers don't do it, I'm calling them bitches, because that's amazing.
Oh my God.
And apparently,
# life goals.
Yeah, and apparently there's apparently there's a podcast section on Pornhub. I mean, it's for porn podcasts, but maybe we can sneak in there. That's what they were saying. I don't know. I don't spend a lot of time on Pornhub.
We're gonna put up a porn special and put it up.
Ideas. I'm adding that to the calendar. No, I'm not. No, just kidding. Just kidding. So the second question that Tyler asked, which is another really, really good one, kind of gets away from the deep question that he asked before, but he also wants to know, what Stan Lee contribution do you appreciate the most? And I'll start this one off if I can, if you're cool with that.
Yeah, whatever.
So I was trying to think of everything that Stan Lee helped create, everything, like his influence on the comics and everything else. And really the thing that I kept coming back to wasn't a single character, which, he did create the character that I love the most in comics, but it came out back to how human his characters were. Before Stan Lee, we had timely comics, and we also had, detective comics and action comics, and there were these larger than life heroes that kind of just loomed above humanity, and were, a lot of the DC characters are kind of paragons for gods. Marvel's characters, when Timely transitioned to Marvel, were a lot more human, and so he brought the characters down to earth, and he gave them real world stakes, and real world pain and real world fears, and he showed them as being something other than these just ginormous figures who were untouchable. His characters were touchable, and that, I think, it's influenced comics from its very inception. Even DC, every comic book since then has had to look at that and be like, okay, how do these people, these superheroic people, these powerful people, how do they fit into a world with human fear and love and relationships? And he did that. Arguably, he did that. I don't know if he did it first, but he did it the best.
One of my first kind of introductions to Stan Lee was some VHSs of the X-Men series, and I think the first one was Night of the Mutants.
Night of the Sentinels.
Night of the Sentinels.
Yeah.
Well, before that started, they actually had an interview with him and some other creators, and he was actually talking about the creation of the X-Men and stuff like that, and just how how human they could be, and just like the fear that has been instilled because of them and everything,
right.
And that people could be born with like these catastrophic abilities and stuff like that. And he was just very, very passionate about it. Really, really kind of appreciated that. And he's created some of the best characters I feel like we have in comics. Definitely some of the most iconic.
Yeah.
And like you said, making them more human. Like I stayed away from DC for the longest time just because I started reading Marvel and I couldn't really relate anything that I've learned from Marvel superheroes to DC superheroes, right. Because DC superheroes were gods, Yeah,
it's hard to figure out how you approach them.
Yeah,
and eventually I think we found our way there, but it was hard at first for me as well.
It's just kind of hard to make something super relevant that doesn't have any problems or issues. That can just solve any problem or issue.
For me, the easy answer for me is Spider-Man, hands down one of my favorite comic book characters. But in reality, what I'm going to say is that when I look at Stan Lee and what he's meant for the comic industry, he has been an ambassador for the comic industry for many years now after he quit creating and editing, and really doesn't have a creative role anymore in any, at Marvel or, anywhere really, but has still continued to be an ambassador for comics and for geek life in general. And to me, that's the biggest contribution he's made.
Absolutely. And you totally took mine, but I let you go first because I had a backup. I was waiting to see if anyone was going to say the ambassador role because, God bless him. Even if you don't read comics, people know who Stan Lee is from his movie cameos and everything else, interviews and TV appearances. Also want to give him props for, and correct me if I'm getting my history wrong, but not being afraid to make prominent black characters.
Yeah.
Like Black Panther, Luke Cage.
I think he made Luke Cage. I'm not.
I know he did Black Panther. And
he was probably in an editorial role, if not.
But he wasn't afraid to bring characters of color into mainstream and not just make them the sidekick, not just make them, the friend of the, their secret identity or whatever.
Yeah.
But being able to do that, and especially in the times when he was making that, for just, an old white guy to create a black character and tell everyone how it'll sell. I believe in this character.
Social justice warrior running comics back in the 60s.
And on that note,
just to answer that question, Luke, he was not, he did not have a direct hand in creating Luke Cage.
Okay.
It was Archie Goodwin, George Tuska, Roy Thomas, and John Romita Sr. But at that time, I think he was the editor-in-chief, if I'm not mistaken.
So he knew it was happening on. He could have, if he was that kind of person, he could have shit-canned the whole thing.
He definitely gave it his blessing and encouraged them.
Yeah. And like you were saying, both of you, the man literally guested at comic book conventions until he physically couldn't.
Right.
Anymore.
Absolutely.
He's done voice cameos in so many animated series. He's been in a live action cameo for just about any movie, and it's always been a big point of like, you know, pointing him out and everything.
Yeah. My wife has known his name since she was a little kid, just because she found out he was the narrator for Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. Mm-hmm. She's like, that's Stan Lee. And then like she learned who he was.
Yeah.
That. So yeah, amazing guy.
So those are some great questions. We still have some more lined up, but we always want more. Kind of like Sean wants more recommendations for him to draw. I need more questions to throw on our list for us to talk about. If you go on our Facebook page, I have pinned at the top of the page a forum. It's got a picture of the question, and it's basically saying, put your questions here. It's the perfect place to put them because I can find them very, very easy, and it's the first post you see when you come to our page. So it's convenient because I love you. That's why. Also, I hate searching for the shit. So put them fucking there, Tyler. All right. So next week is the first week of the month. And one thing that we have been doing since, I think for the past 2 months now, is that we have been having a themed episode of sorts on the first podcast of every month. We did this to kind of see who goes first. We started rolling dice. Now, just to give you a general idea, in case you've just started listening since then, is that one of us, whoever wins the dice roll, we get to pick a topic, and we give the other three and ourselves a week to go do some homework, do some research on that topic, and find out what it is. It can be a character. It can be a theme. It can be a creator. It can be movies. It can be, anything. Like that's the geekery, right? We're not just Southern Fried Comics. We're Southern Fried Geekery. Indeed. Broad spectrum of stuff to talk about. So, I won the first roll because it's the first time in my life that dice have ever been nice to me. I think Sean won the second roll. I was not. I was mighty and strong with my dice roll.
Except for that whole slip up of, you know.
Oh, I failed.
Except for putting everything together. But
we're like rolling, you know, because we were trying to recreate our rolls, and then he was like, I guess we're rolling again.
Yeah, no, I failed completely. I just didn't know what was happening. As you know, that happens.
As we do.
I don't know why you guys let me be in charge of things. It's a bad idea.
No,
are we talking about Hillbilly?
Absolutely.
We are talking about Hillbilly.
Have you guys,
Jesus Christ.
Have you guys heard about Hillbilly?
Is that the time?
All right, so I won the first roll. Sean won the second roll. So now we're kind of at a death match.
Thank you.
And
I'm not even gonna roll.
You can tie it.
You can tie it.
That was a 20 for you.
Yep,
Can't
correct.
see
Rolled
things.
a 20.
This is gonna be a 1. Wow.
It is a 1.
Called it. Straight up.
Well, Jerry will be fixing his gun for the next month.
The next round.
All right, so Craig, you win. You get the name of the theme episode.
I want each of you, and myself included, to come up with our favorite comic book creator, whether it's writer, artist, colorist, penciler, letterist, I don't care. Your favorite comic book creator, and tell us a little bit about why they are, and just give us a little bit about their background.
Because that was my question too. No, I'm just kidding.
And I would like to kind of keep it modern age as opposed to going back. So anything that's been done, if the books will fit in a modern age bag and board,
okay,
let's do it that way. That way it kind of directs people towards modern comics.
Okay, so I was going to ask, but you just said modern age bag and board. Does manga count?
I will allow
if we want. If not saying I'm going that route, but if we want,
I will allow manga.
Craig flexing his muscles. I'll allow it.
Thank you, Craig, sir. I don't mean it that way.
It's his question. It's his request.
Yeah, I mean, I'll allow the manga in there as long as it's current manga, or not necessarily current, but not.
Just put it. Just one just in case.
I don't want to hear about the creator of Voltron.
Make sure it's attainable.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, I do.
Right. Okay.
Fair enough for everybody?
Fair enough. Okay. I already have a few in mind. This is going to be a fun episode.
Well, I started... I'll tell you how I got there real quick. Mm-hmm. I was going to try and pick a creator, a modern creator, for us to talk about.
Right.
And I thought, you know what? Let's just make it more open and let everybody talk about one that's their favorite. I have a feeling Jerry and I are going to be on the same page, so I may pick a random one.
Let's make sure we're very open about when we decide that we let each other know so we're not double dipping.
just everybody could just give like a 4 or 5 of theirs and see if any of them.
Yeah, no, I think there's a good way. This is going to be fun.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
I'm looking
Jerry,
forward
you got
to
a
it.
lot to live up to on your turn. Don't fuck it up.
Jerry always has a lot to live up to. We have a lot of.
I
hopes and
surely
dreams
will
for
not
Jerry.
come up with it on the spot. I have an entire month to think of a question, a good question.
You have an entire month to fix your gun.
Jump ahead 1 month, Jerry. So, what's your topic?
Oh shit!
I still have to roll for it, right?
You have to beat yourself,
Somebody tell me how to fix a gun in Pathfinder. That's Jerry.
Jerry plays a lot. For those of you who are wondering why we keep mentioning guns, Jerry plays a lot of gunslingers in his Pathfinder game.
They are fun.
They are fun, and they're fun to watch because he gets so mad.
They're broken.
All right, so let's kind of get into the meat and potatoes of why we're here. Each week, we all gather around the table on a Sunday for Sunday comic book dinner, nerd dinner, geekery, and we talk about some of the stuff that's gone on in the week, some of our favorite books, all of that fun stuff. There is always news happening in geek culture. There's lots of things going on. So I want to take this moment to just flat out say this is not a spoiler-free podcast. We will talk about things that are current. We're going to talk about current news, and there may be some stuff that you don't want to know about or stuff like that. If so, we're going to tell you what we're talking about first, and if we spoil anything, sorry, but you've been given your warning. Don't come at us. We'll come back at you. I don't know. I didn't think this one through. Anyway.
How can you make everything sexual?
Giggity. I'm a 90s kid. All right. So here is your warning that there will, in fact, be spoilers in every little part of the next couple hours of the podcast.
Damn, how long we plan on recording today?
5 o'clock tonight. 7 hours. We're just going to knock out the entire month's
You got
worth of
something to do
feed.
today?
And don't make it about sex, sir.
Or
right.
live your life, boo boo. I'm not telling you how to do anything.
All right. So some news. And, there's going to be a lot of stuff we get to laugh about, a lot of stuff that's going to make us really happy in talking about this.
I just want to say I blame you for this one.
Yeah, this is not going to be one of those situations that is going to make anyone happy because it's kind of heartbreaking. On the last episode, I fucked up really hard. I commented about how it had been a while since we'd had to do an in memoriam post, and I even knocked on wood, or at least Craig's table. So I'm kind of doubting the fact that it's wood now. I don't know. The magic didn't work because
superstitions do not change my wooden table.
The comics industry lost a superstar this week. At least for those of us who follow artists and the people who make the things that we love. Norm Brayfogle passed away. He was an amazing artist. I think he was probably best known for his the post-crisis Batman work. He did a lot of that stuff with writer Alan Grant. He co-created the DC character Anarchy. If you guys remember that guy, he showed up here recently in the DC Comics.
I will be talking about him today.
Oh, nice, very cool. And then he also co-created the Ultraverse Prime universe. Prime was, I think we all, Prime has a special place in a lot of our hearts. It was very much this Image era, just giant hulking figure.
It was way 90s stuff.
Yeah, that's the best of the 90s. But this dude drew some of my favorite Batman stuff. I was talking to a lot of our friends about this, and for most of us, probably because we're of a similar age, Norm Brayfogle drew our Batman. I think folks are a little bit older than us. They probably associate Batman with Neil Adams. My generation largely associates it with Norm Brayfogle.
Him and Tom Lyle.
Yeah, him and Tom Lyle. Norm was one of the first creators I actually ever met, one of the first bigger ones. When I first got back into comics and started going to cons, he was at a smaller con, and I was able to go meet him. Regretfully, at the time, I didn't buy any art because I wasn't buying art then, and I'll never forgive myself for that. It sucks because he was kind of a titan in the industry. He was only 58. Apparently, he had a stroke a couple of years ago. Never really fully recovered. Just kind of kept going downhill. Just a dynamic artist, and the industry is it's a little darker place without him. It sucks that we are now losing kind of what I'd call the second generation of. And I mean, Norm might have actually been in the third generation of big name comics people.
Yeah, for sure.
Because he's young. He's not that old.
Yeah, our buddy Brent actually had him lined up at one point to come to River City.
Yeah.
And then it kind of fell through, it's heartbreaking because we would have had our chance to meet him. But yeah.
It is. It really sucks to lose somebody so amazing, so talented, so nice, genuinely a nice person, genuinely a nice human being. Both artistically and just as a human. But life happens. People do in fact pass away. We don't, and that's the thing. We don't have these guys forever. We don't have these men and women on Earth forever. So appreciate them and their talent while they're here. Respect them while they're here. Be nice to them, because eventually they're going to pass away. If you have the privilege of interacting with these people, respect that it's a privilege and appreciate them, because they're not always going to be here. Just our condolences to the Breyfogle family. I doubt any of them will ever hear this, but still want to extend that anyway. Our condolences to the fans, to people who really liked his work, because it does hit all of us. Yeah,
remember it is a privilege, not a right, to get to communicate with creators of any medium.
It's true.
And rest easy and clink a glass with all those former people in comic book Valhalla.
Yeah, he will definitely be missed.
Absolutely.
Move on a little bit to some movie news. Fox has dropped the Dark Phoenix trailer.
I saw that.
For the upcoming film that has now been pushed to June.
Oh, did it get pushed back?
No, February.
February.
Yeah, because it was supposed to be released this year, but now it's been pushed to February. But they dropped the full trailer. We've been seeing I think they're showing little teasers and little clips, but now we got the full trailer showing what they're going for. And I'll be honest, when I first saw the trailer, no reaction. Didn't really think anything of it. And then, like I said, people started making very valid points. Some negative, some positive.
Yeah.
But, it's, again, not a big reaction from me. Caleb, you kind of had one. That dropped.
So I don't want to be super negative, because I'm always one who suggests that you stop. Let's wait. Let's not put everything on the trailers. And that's absolutely something that we've said and we should stand by. I think the cinematography looks awesome. I think it looks visually good. I think they made a good looking movie. I also think that what they've given us, it is kind of a second attempt at making X3. That's just kind of what I saw in the trailer. It looks like they're going with the Phoenix is actually just a secondary persona of Jean Grey that Professor X trapped in her brain, and that it's kind of a schizophrenic thing. And instead of this being this intergalactic cosmic force that it has to do with the Shi'ar and everything else.
This is their fourth movie in this run, right?
I think so.
Yeah, because they had, First Class, Days of Future Past, Apocalypse, and
Dark Phoenix.
Yeah.
So this is part 4 of the prequel series.
Yeah. And the casting
universe.
And now it's kind of
reset.
blended in now. Yeah. Elements and everything.
And I don't hate the casting or anything. I think the casting's good. I think it looks good. I'm not sure if the costumes that they show are going to read well, but I also know that trailers aren't necessarily the finished product, and so they're going to do a lot of stuff with them. I did not like the storyline of X3 or anything else about that movie. I kind of I hope that they're just kind of misleading us, and that they're going to make the Phoenix, the Dark Phoenix, whatever this entity is, they're going to make it a cosmic galactic figure, and not just a permeation of her multiple personalities and another version of why Magneto was right.
So let's just get it off the table. In no world, any comic that I've ever read, would Charles Xavier actually be able to block anything in Jean Grey's mind.
Right.
Even as a child, I don't know that he would be able to, yeah.
As powerful as he is, not when it comes to mind powers against her. So, getting that part of it off the table.
But there has to be a source material for that. So I haven't read a lot of the older. I've read I read my fair share of Claremontian, angry Claremontian narrator stuff, but I haven't read a book that this is the source material out of. But hypothetically, there is, right? Like this has to have come from the comics somewhere.
I've read a lot of X-Men in my life, and maybe not as much as Sean. But
you're talking about specifically him mind blocking her.
Yeah.
Honestly, top of my head, no.
I can't.
I think it's purely as someone writing a movie script and doesn't want to work with the cosmic level things, and they're like,
maybe, yeah.
Schizophrenia and Professor X is badass. He can do this. No, not if you know your comics. No. Yeah. She's always been a force. It's a pure force of nature.
Yeah,
the psychic level.
Yeah.
I've read Dark Phoenix. I've read the original book. Now, granted, this movie started before Disney had purchased the Fox deal and everything. So maybe if they had known beforehand this was going to be their last time having it, maybe they would have went all out and made it a pure, space and go full Dark Phoenix saga comic book material. And so maybe they originally started this with the idea of like, well, there'll be more, so we don't want to, just blow our load and do everything right away. But it seems like a shame because, like you said, there are elements that are good and elements that are not looking so great.
Right.
To me, I can't think of the actress's name. Sansa from Game of Thrones is a damn good pick.
I think she's awesome. Yeah, I love
Jean
her.
Grey, and it's a shame. I hope if any of them move over to the Marvel X-Men, they might consider her.
Maybe.
Yeah. And I think that's always kind of been our thing is like the problem with these movies has never been casting. It's always straight up like the writing and them not like understanding the material well enough and wanting to make their own thing and think, hey, that's cool, but wouldn't it be cooler if we did it like this? And
right.
It kind of flops
for the most part. Yeah.
As far as the costumes going though, they had some at the end of Apocalypse. Now that's been like what, 2 years now, 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So of course they've changed them up a bit, but
it's also supposed to be 10 years further in the future.
Yeah,
in the timeline.
I don't even know because I think the Apocalypse was supposed to take place in the 90s. Right?
No, it was the 80s.
80s or late 70s.
This is supposed to take place in the 90s, if I'm not mistaken.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, and then they were also talking about how what was it, Gambit and another movie. Oh, the Multiple Man movie. Was still on the table, which I'm like, at this point.
And of course, New Mutants come out later next year too.
And I'm actually excited about that, but I don't know, Gambit and Multiple Man. It's kind of hard for me to get excited about when they
those are going to end up being scrapped.
That's how I feel. Yeah,
they'll end up being.
I mean,
scrapped.
that's how I feel about the Black and Silver movie too, that they're talking about doing after Venom.
Yeah. So, in other film news, DC's Birds of Prey has cast, I'm not sure how to say her name, Journey Stolette Bell as Black Canary. And the Huntress will be played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Yeah.
So, I'm pretty excited about that.
I think it's good casting. I think visually it's good casting. I don't know where they're from. I don't know that I may very well have seen them. I haven't IMDb'd them or anything, but
I know Winstead's name, but for all I can think of, I can't place where she's from.
But visually, I think it's fine. So the little bit of controversy popped up over this, as you might expect because of internet, is that the person who is playing Black Canary, Journey Snow Bell, or however you say, that. Anyway, the actress
Miss
is
Bell. If you have a problem with the way we've been pronouncing your name, please go on the podcast and find us about it.
So, just give you a few things that Mary Elizabeth Winstead's been in. She was in Cloverfield. She's in, or 10 Cloverfield Lane, I mean. She was in the Fargo television series. Right. I mean, she's been in a lot of things.
I know I've heard that name in a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you for sure have seen her. She was in A Good Day to Die Hard.
Okay. All right. So, yeah,
Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. Great movie.
For the Scott Pilgrim.
She was
Ramona Flowers and Scott Pilgrim.
Oh, there you go.
And the remake of The Thing, or the continuation prequel of The Thing, or whatever
that
it is.
movie called The Thing. Yeah.
So I mean,
she was also the big bad guy in Sky High.
I never watched.
Apparently, she was in a bunch of the Die Hard movies.
Okay,
and Grindhouse and Death Proof and
So she definitely has her acting chops. The thing that kind of caused some controversy about this was actually not with her. It was with Journey, the actress who's going to be playing Black Canary, because she's actually a woman of color. She's a black woman, and of course the internet. They started going after everybody. Just really devolved in some racist bullshit about how she's got blonde hair, she can't be a black woman. Fuck you. And they even went as far as to like start harassing Gail Simone, trying to get Gail Simone to say some bullshit. And because Gail Simone has written that character a lot, and she was like, "I've got no problem with this. I think it's awesome." Like, I don't know if you know this. Walk outside, black chicks have blonde hair a lot. Like, it's not hard to do.
Black Canary is not a character that her backstory requires her to be white.
It doesn't matter.
If that were a case, then you would have a legitimate point. If you change Black Panther to a white man, you've changed his entire backstory.
Yeah.
If you changing this character to a black woman does not change anything about her story
at all.
I had a problem with Fantastic Four, and it wasn't because they made him black. It was because they changed their origin to make him black.
Yeah,
that was my only issue with that. So
I just
racism and the internet,
and it's ridiculous, and it's gonna I'm not gonna lie, like there was a little bit of thought in my head, but I almost don't want to add any fuel to any morons that might some reason listen to our show.
Yeah, I don't know why they would.
Just casting a black actress is a little on the nose with a character called Black Canary, but you know that doesn't matter.
Well, I mean, but there's a history of Black Panther.
No, absolutely. You know what I mean? Just like,
I don't think blonde hair is even critical to the character.
I'm trying to think how I used to make my point. If not, cut all comments out because it's like, you know what I mean? Like it's going to add fuel to the fire.
Yeah.
Because like, you have black characters that are called like Black Lightning.
Yeah.
That's intentional. This is coincidental that she was already called Black Canary. Yeah. Now they got a black character. It could be a thing, or I'm rambling and cut all this out.
So my misogynistic self says, as long as she wears the fishnet stockings, I don't care.
Oh, you're damn right.
I'm sure she's going to be to be quite.
She got cast for a reason. She got cast, and that's they always cast like it's often people don't know this about like casting calls and stuff like that. Many actors who went on to play great roles went in there to audition for a different character.
Oh, absolutely.
The casting crew and the director know who they want for their characters, and even if the actors don't, she may not have wanted to be Black Canary without having any issues and all this stuff, but you know what, she was best for the role. That's why she got it.
I'm just did these fucks not learn anything from Domino?
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Just like you're pissing in the wind, and nobody's going to end up stinking but you. Like you're shitting your pants for no goddamn
one of the
reason.
best part of Deadpool 2 was Domino.
Second only to Ryan Reynolds' ass and leather. Just,
I mean, in
second episode in a row.
What?
Yeah,
I just don't
get it in there.
I don't understand. I do understand the internet, but I hate them.
I have to change my paper over.
In other movie news,
this is
other movie news. I'm about to say something I never thought I would say. 6 movies. They dropped the Bumblebee trailer for the new Transformers movie. For the first time in 6 movies, I'm going to say I want to go see this fucking movie. Bumblebee is looking awesome. They dropped Michael Bay. I think he might still be a producer, but he's definitely not directing anymore. And they are bringing in all the G1 goodness. For those who may not know, G1 is short for Generation 1, the first original Transformers from the 1980s.
Hey, Sean, what did they show us this week?
They released a new trailer that showed motherfucking Soundwave as a motherfucking cassette player ejecting Ravage from his cassette form into his Panther form. That looks like a fucking Panther attacking a diesel truck Optimus Prime.
From miles away, I heard Sean get hard.
Right. Now, because you have 1 or 2 Soundwave
I have a couple.
toys, right? Yeah.
No. I have a Soundwave shrine. Right. And majority of it, with a few exceptions, are the original Soundwave design. And they're showing clips on Cybertron, and don't get me wrong, I'm not dumb. The entire sequence of him and all that could literally be what we saw in the trailer, in the entire movie. But by God, I'm going to be there as soon as I can in theaters because they're finally going back to the roots. And like they used to make the argument with the old Transformers. With my complaint, so I'm going to go on my own Lance rants on these old movies. Were like, well, the old designs don't work. They don't realistically. That's not what a robot would look like that can turn into a car.
That's kind of bullshit when the new designs didn't work either.
Exactly. They were all, like, the subcons were all gunmetal gray. You couldn't tell who was who in a fucking fight. It looked like someone threw in 3 Bionicles in a tub and shook them around. That was the whole fucking
cars turned into 3-story robots, so I'm not sure how that worked.
You know what? Sentient robots. That's all you need to know.
No, I mean in the movies.
Right, yeah, but they said the old boxy designs of the originals wouldn't work. And now, within a second, we saw Bumblebee as an original bug. We saw... We originally, I think I even mentioned on the show.
Wait, is this Beast Wars?
Yes.
I'm joking.
Optimus Primal showed up later. Who I thought was Starscream, because we saw a red and white jet in the original teaser, now revealed to be Blitzwing, who I don't remember if he was a triple changer in the toy line, but him and another unknown, at least unknown to me because I didn't look it up, they showed triple changers, which was another original toy line. They go from jets to car to robot. They show them in that new trailer. And then there's the scenes of Cybertron where we get original Shockwave not riding a fucking robotic snake in the air like in that last fucking movie. And we get Optimus Prime looking like Optimus Prime without a fucking removable mask that shows robot mouth.
I need you to stop before your blood pressure goes up.
No, you give me my little black rant.
Here's something I just thought about.
I'm happy for the first time. Sorry, Jerry. In 1 second. I'm happy for the first fucking time in a long time to see a Transformer live action movie trailer. Yes, Jerry.
Okay, so they didn't have cars on Cybertron. We know that.
No, they had cars. They were hover cars.
Yeah. So the Optimus form was obviously the classic
Yeah, because even in the old cartoon, when they transformed into their Cybertronian futuristic cars, their robot forms still weirdly enough look like they did on Earth when they copied Earth vehicles. Yeah. They still looked the exact same.
Yeah, this movie
because 80s cartoons.
I remember the first time sharing this trailer, and Sean just gave like the biggest sigh because he didn't know anything about it. And like for me, I was just like, everybody was talking about it on Facebook. So I was like, all right, well, whatever, I'll check it out. I have free time. When the jet transforms, that immediately, I was just like, this actually looks really fucking good because it looks so much more fluid than the way that they did it in the previous movies. Yeah. And I was going to say, if you want to, gain some confidence in Michael Bay producing something other than directing it, Black Sails.
Yeah, absolutely. He can sit back and be like, look, dude, add that explosion in, but let someone more talented fucking direct and write the movies.
If I'm not mistaken, this is the first one that Robert Kirkman pretty much had creative control over the storyline for it, too.
Did he?
Because I knew they brought him in. I think he started in the last movie, but it was kind of they brought him in at the tail end of it.
I had no idea he was even involved.
Robert Kirkman is involved.
Yeah, Robert Kirkman, I believe, had creative control over the story of this one.
Right.
I didn't know that. Yeah,
me neither. Because like I said, I've been not.
I'm going to look that up. But I'm
for so long. And it's like I've gushed, I've angered, I've yelled. One last little minute because I get any chance I can to put wrestling into anything I can talk about. Motherfucking John Cena's in this movie as an evil military.
Really?
Right? Yeah.
I didn't see him in the trailer.
Well, you can't see him.
Yeah.
I hate both of you.
I don't know that was
they said they're supposed to be a wrestler in this movie, but I don't know. They just keep talking and fighting with something invisible.
But yeah, John Cena is looks like a villain working with because the two triple changers are Decepticons, and they talked to him briefly in the trailer, saying they're after a war criminal in Bumblebee. Mm-hmm. So like I said, they've shown Cybertron, they showed Soundwave in all his glory. Hopefully they'll. The only thing that I'm going to get mad because Soundwave was in either part 2 or 3 of the original movies, and they got the original voice actor, and the dumbasses couldn't even auto-tune his fucking voice so he'd sound like Soundwave, so instead he sounded like Dr. Claw from the Space Gadget.
Yeah. And he was a satellite.
He was a spaceship that tentacle raped the satellite.
Oh, okay. He consumed the satellite.
So speaking of manga ramen, no. None of that was an exaggeration. Sorry.
It's some other movie. I don't know if it's necessarily news, but this week, new Marvel movie.
Speaking of things, tentacle raping other things.
There's a segue.
Venom comes out this week, and I don't necessarily know that I'm super excited about it. Some of the stuff that I've seen lately looks really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still gonna go see it. It's piqued my interest enough to where I feel like I need to go at least check it out.
This one snuck up on me because I was sitting here thinking like, it's okay, this is still like, we're going to get one more trailer and it's going to come out like maybe around December, maybe November. But no, they were like, oh, it's coming out next week. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, when did this happen?
Yeah, I was like literally just on Facebook scrolling and then it said next week. And then that's whenever I shared it to you guys. And I was like, do you guys know the Venom movie comes out next week?
Yeah. Anybody else going to see it this week?
I don't think I'm able to see it, but honestly, I'm fairly excited to see it. I don't know if I'll get to go see it in theaters. I'm definitely can't wait to hear Jerry's thoughts because he is the Venom guy for sure. So I'm excited to start hearing people's thoughts on it for real because, like I said, to me, the trailers have been looking good.
Yeah, I'll defer to Jerry's judgment on this one. If Jerry goes and sees this and he's like, comes back like, nope, you've got to go see this movie, then I'll definitely go check it out.
Unless the first words out of his mouth is, it wasn't Flash Thompson, then I'm going to fuck what he thinks.
Right. Well,
can't always be Flash.
I'm the negative Nancy on the group on the movie. Nothing I've seen in the trailers, from the performances to anything else, to the way that it looks like weird Spawn era goopity goop. Nothing makes me happy. But I do, for the sake of everyone, hope that it is good and that I'm completely wrong, and I can't wait to hear what you think about it, sir.
Yeah. Part of me is like, oh man, if it does really well, then we might not ever get him directly in the MCU like with the Disney Marvel stuff. But at the same time, I'd just like to enjoy a movie and not waste 2 hours and 15 minutes of my life.
Peter Parker's supposed to be in it, though, right? To tie it in.
We still don't know.
That's probably going to be the big Easter egg surprise. Yeah. One little thing I just want to add real quick for all y'all bitching out there. The director has come out and said the movie was never going to be R-rated.
Yeah.
Quit being spoiled over Deadpool. quick mention about something that was never going to happen.
I thought you were just talking about me for a second. I'm sorry.
And I don't even care about that. It's just like they said from the beginning, whenever it was first coming out, that they were not connecting it to the MCU.
Right.
But then now it's been a little more obscured as we've gone along. Right. So I don't know what the deal is with that, but at the same time, it's really, they can do it easily, but at the same time, do we really want a Venom to not have that connection with Peter Parker and Spider-Man? I mean, that's my thing.
I can see an Easter egg at the end, like Sean said, that ties it in, because I think it's going to end up being part of the MCU.
Well, and if they establish him in this, and then they turn around and make him the villain or whatever it is in the next Sony/Marvel movie, like Spider-Man movie, I could see that being the best way to bridge it over.
Yeah, or they could keep it as simple as Netflix, where they just kind of acknowledge it. We might just see Spider-Man and be the Spider-Man real quickly in there and never have an interaction.
And not that they've really worried about it too much, but there's a huge time gap there because Peter was already working at the Daily Bugle whenever Venom and Eddie Brock popped up.
So before I move on to the next news, I did look it up. Somebody else has writing credits for Bumblebee, but Kirkman was announced to be part of the creative, but he's not getting credits for it. So I don't know. Maybe he backed out.
Script doctor or
something like that. He may have backed out as well. So this little piece of news gives me just a little bit of goosebumps. Kathleen Kennedy got re-signed on for another 3 years as head of Lucasfilm.
Really? I thought she got fired, died, was burned, and she was shot into space.
She was fired. I heard it from credible sources on the internet.
Are you saying the internet didn't work?
The internet did not work. And all the fuckboy neckbeards were wrong once again.
Boy!
No, wait. Don't worry. Their self-funded fan re-edit of the last movie with no women's in it will show them.
Yeah.
They'll definitely win.
Yeah. The dark side boob.
So, anyways, just a quick blurb on that. She's back. She'll be there. She's going to continue to run the show there. It's going to take a lot more than one bad
review.
One bad. Well, I'm going to say turnout at the movie theater for Solo, because the movie was fine. But yeah. So
still some. I mean, dude, this prequel stuff has been awesome. Like I don't hate The Last Jedi the way a lot of people hate it. I don't think it's the best film that was ever made. I think it's just fine. But the prequel stuff, like Rogue One and the Solo, I get that they didn't do well at the box office. At least Solo didn't. But that's because they didn't put any advertising into it and they didn't invest in it. But they were good. They were really good.
Yeah, I mean the thing about Solo that it didn't. People saying that they won, the fuck boys saying that they won because
I love
they
how
boycotted.
Dedicated you are to this.
They boycotted the Solo movie. That's not why that movie didn't do well. There's 100 reasons why. In 10 fans not showing up to it. Yeah. So.
Well, all right. Well, this was kind of a film heavy news segment, but this one's kind of our last little thing in the news. What is it, buddy?
Our last segment's going to be film heavy too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So New York Comic-Con is next week. None of us are unfortunately going to be in attendance. I wish we were. It would be amazing. I've been to New York Comic Con. It's a blast, other than the fact that the Javits Center sucks as a host building. However, we do have a lot of friends who are going to be there. So first, we would like to wish all of you safe travels as you all just leave your collective corners of America and or the world and just land in the middle of Manhattan. Please be safe. Safe travels. Second, we would like to invite you to post whatever you buy at the con. All these awesome things that you're going to get, be they toys or film ephemera or comics or indie stuff, just whatever. Snap pictures of it and post it on our page. We want to appreciate it with you and
be jealous of it.
And be jealous and live vicariously through you. And then thirdly, actually, this doesn't really have anything to do with New York Comic Con, but it does involve a con that we're going to be at, albeit a slightly smaller convention called Comic Conway on November 2nd through the 4th. And we're actually going to be setting up at a table. I know Craig announced earlier that we have t-shirts that we're going to be selling. We also have a shit ton of other stuff like buttons, magnets, like a ton of Southern Fried Geekery swag that we want you to have. And as as Craig also said earlier, we're going to be giving a code word that you can come and tell us, and we will give you said swag. Or you can show us that you've downloaded the podcast, and we will give you said swag, except for the t-shirts, because those cost money.
And the code word is... Stay tuned.
I was like, oh, did we decide already?
No.
So, yeah, we haven't decided what that is.
Balls. It is not balls.
No, but you have to say like bow.
This is going to go nowhere.
Stay tuned.
Lordy. All right, so comics are awesome, but you know what else is awesome?
Japanese comics.
Japanese comics, manga.
Had to.
Yeah. So why don't y'all tell us a little bit about some manga? Pour us a bowl of manga ramen.
We have normally on Manga Ramen, we've been doing a lot of classic stuff we've been big fans of that may have come out a little while back. We want to get everyone kind of to know about it. Well, today Jerry went and saw something in the theaters. Staying movie heavy.
Ooh.
Jerry, why don't you tell them about that?
I actually saw it twice this week. It was the My Hero Academia movie, Two Heroes.
Oh, nice.
And it's kind of funny because that movie as well really snuck up on me because I think it had a July release in Japan. And usually whenever they release something in America too, they try to do it, not long after that. So I thought it already came and gone. And then somebody hit me up and was like, hey, I got an extra ticket to this. Come check it out. I will say it was a little weird because we're used to watching the subs.
You watched the dubbed one.
I don't think they had it subtitled. At least not at Colonel Glenn, where I went and saw it both times. It was dubbed both, so There was a little bit of getting used to the voices,
of course,
the English voices, which they were fine. I enjoyed them all. I thought that they all fit really well. We actually found out that a friend of Stephanie's does a few voices. She does Chopper's English voice and Minetta's English voice.
Awesome.
Yeah,
that's cool.
So the whole synopsis of the story is. And whenever you're taking an anime movie from a series like this, which Sean and I have definitely experienced in the past with One Piece movies, it's usually non-canonical.
Right.
Meaning that it doesn't really have a place that it fits into the story. So they try to put it in as best as they can.
Right.
And this is going to be a spoiler, but if they're going to try to fit it in anywhere, I would say it would have to be before the summer camp.
Okay, so it's that far back.
Yeah, and for the main reason why is it's about All Might taking Midoriya to this place called Island, which is where all these scientists and everything live and congregate and all their families there, and it's so they can develop all these new hero support items and stuff like that.
Okay,
and the big lead scientist for the place used to be a sidekick to All Might whenever All Might was in America. They kind of have a little thing for that whenever it first, and then a lot of the other characters pop up and stuff, and drama starts. But my biggest thing is he can still use his powers,
right,
for a few hours at a time.
This is still back. He's still injured, obviously, because that's how the start of the show is. But at this point, he can still maintain his All Might form for a little while.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for at least a few hours and stuff. Midoriya hasn't picked up his shoot style. So it's you kind of have to look at it as sort of a side thing. They did have a little episode to lead into it, and then they also had Viz had a manga issue, a free manga chapter, and they were like, "Hey, read this before the movie comes out." But I read it, and I don't really recall it having much to do with the movie,
right?
Because it really that the manga chapter had stuff to do with Toshinori Yagi, I think was her name, the girl that was his successor.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah. But they didn't really have anything to do with that in the movie. Yeah,
didn't make an appearance at all.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, they had a pretty good reason for other people showing up, be it their prominent family gets some kind of pass to go or something. They invite a lot of superheroes because it's this big event every year where they debut a lot of new support items and everything like that.
Right.
And some things go down and villains show up to steal something. And they basically make it to where all of the heroes were at one place at one time, and they essentially get captured. So then it's up to the students who didn't make it into that place to help out and free everybody.
Okay, well, if it's not obvious from like me, my responses to Jerry, I have not seen this. And to be honest, like as big of a fan as I am of series such as like One Piece and My Hero Academia, obviously, I'm actually not super crazy about movies because it's kind of like what we were discussing earlier. I don't know if that was on tape or not, but the what ifs and the side story stuff.
Yeah, I don't think it was.
Doesn't always appeal. Now, there's been some amazing One Piece movies, and they are good standalones. But like usually, like when they try to tie them closely to the show, and it's like filler episodes to me. So this movie, obviously standalone. Would you say it was like did they up the animation? Like, I mean, My Hero always has great animation because it's seasonal, but like, did we get some really big animation moments in there, or did it?
They definitely had some, and like all of the fights were super fluid. You know, like they have like at the sports festival fight,
right?
And,
those moments, was that the entire movie?
It wasn't the entire movie, but and they did have a few that were just kind of like, you know, we're watching this on a big screen. Why did you let the animation look like this? Necessarily, there was only two points in it where I was like, that was weird. But for the most part, like the animation was fairly solid. Anytime they had any kind of action or anything,
they put some budget behind.
Oh
it.
yeah,
because I mean, like, and granted, you say early One Piece, you got to remember that was in the fucking 90s.
Yeah.
But like some of their original specials and movies looked like an extended episode, which is fine animation, but like you think when you hear a movie, especially a theatrical release. Sometimes they're not always like, you're not hitting that theater quality of budget for the animation.
Yeah.
So I was curious about that. So overall, would you say definitely worth it? I mean, you saw it twice, obviously.
Oh,
yeah. It's worth it.
I really enjoyed it. It was great. Stephanie enjoyed it. I mean, the audience, like, I don't know if we've talked about going and seeing anime movies on here before, but Craig, Caleb, and I actually traveled to Memphis to go see the last One Piece movie that came out, and the audience was fucking horrid. It's like
it was so bad.
It's like they completely forgot that they were in a movie theater and wanted to yell at like the entire time and talk through the movie. Luckily, both showings that I went to of this movie, we were fortunate enough to have like a pretty decent audience. Like nobody was.
Maybe it's just Memphis. I love you, Memphis fans.
It's not.
I know.
It's not just
Memphis. That was just a joke.
No,
but it's like, come on, you're in a movie theater. Behave like you're in a movie theater.
Act like you've been here before, and that's that in general. So look, I love being a fan of geek culture. I love being in geek culture. I love being a nerd. But it doesn't matter if you're in a theater or if you're at a con or if you're at a bookstore. There is a subset of geek culture. I'm going to sound like an elitist asshole that doesn't know how to act like they've ever been out fucking side.
Yep.
They stand in the middle of the room and scream, and they demand a spotlight be on them instead of just enjoying the thing that they're doing, and it pisses me the fuck off every time.
The ones that run up to Sean's table at cons and yell "Pickle Rick,"
scream at the top of her lungs. God bless her. She walked over to my table, was very happy with my beat art, but my God,
I get it. It's fun. It's a place that you can cut loose a little bit, but there is a modicum of decorum. Like, Jesus.
You're in public.
That was two words that I had to stop and think about what they meant.
Modicum of decorum?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
All right, well, back. Very good.
I apologize.
No, you're not wrong. You were not wrong. I'm getting that out. So, okay, one last question before we bring this home. Would you say this is a movie, granted, it's a limited theater run, but, if it's still out there, anyone can still check it out after hearing this. Do they have to watch the show to really would they be lost if they've never watched a lot of My Hero or
not necessarily, because one of the things that they did in the movie that I was like not crazy about but understood why is they recap some stuff.
Okay.
So like they re-showed flashbacks, and I think they actually just pulled the footage right out of the anime, and it was like of him being a child and you learning that he doesn't have a quirk, and then finding out that All Might.
So they catch up at least a little bit. Which, is not a terrible thing because as we've discussed in some of our previous manga ramens, like you see an anime movie sometimes before you'll ever see the show. Right. I saw Poltergeist Report before I ever saw Yu Yu Hakusho. So, so overall, what would you give this rating?
How many stabs?
How many stabs?
Solid 7-8.
Nice.
7 or 8.
7 or 8 stabs. Depending how tired he gets by the 7. He might give up. Okay, well, awesome. Like I said, it's unfortunately, I can't make it to the theater as much. So I don't think I'm going to see it in theaters, but I'll definitely check it out if it ever comes to a streaming service.
Would have easily gotten 9, but Tokoyami wasn't in it.
So it's not 9 because his favorite character wasn't in it.
Yeah.
All might.
Well, Jerry's sister's sad thinking about missing his favorite. His
I
favorite
heard
bird.
you, bro.
Also, now Jerry's sad because his favorite character was in the movie. Our bowls are empty. Ikadakimasu.
Nice. Well, I'm really glad you enjoyed that. If it ever comes out on Netflix, I may check it out.
I'm just glad it actually came here.
No shit.
Because
that doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, it's very
Rock.
seldom that you get anime movies in theaters here, and for like a whole Tuesday through Tuesday type thing.
So, as a future manga ramen section,
Our bowls are still full apparently.
well, no. It's not about that. I walked in on my husband doing something unexpected this past week. He was he was watching I think it's anime. Is it not anime?
It's not.
It's a show called The Dragon Prince, and we watched a few episodes of it. I thought it was anime. Apparently, it's not. I was curious to get your thoughts on that sometime.
I actually have finished it. I really enjoyed it. I felt like they didn't give us enough episodes. It was only like 10 episodes, and it's by the creators of Avatar: The Last Airbender, if anybody's familiar with that. It's not the same animators because those people were working on Voltron, but it is the same creators. I recognize a lot of the same voices, but it's kind of cool to have like these people working in a holy shit fantasy setting.
Right. I thought it was really cool. What makes it not anime?
I was going to actually throw that in real quick because we've had a discussion with Avatar a lot because a lot of people who see Avatar see the art style and the Asian influence and assume it's anime.
I'm one of those people. Yeah.
And you wouldn't be wrong if you didn't know better. It's basically that.
I wouldn't be wrong, but I am.
Well, you're not dumb, you're ignorant. That's the difference. Is that I know, right?
Thank you, man.
You're welcome. Avatar and all their works pretty much have been anime influenced. The reason it's not anime, even though it's stylized, it's animated like it is, the art is very close to anime style, is that anime is Japanese in creation and origin.
Okay.
Avatar, while influenced by Asian culture, is an American product.
Okay.
So technically, it's heavy anime influence, which a lot of shows are. You can argue that anyway. But it technically is not an anime because anime is a generalization term for Japanese originated animation.
Okay.
That's the only difference. But
hand-drawn or computer animation originating from or associated with.
Thank you, Wiki Jerry.
There we go.
I brought that up because I had a coworker say the same thing, so I just Googled it.
Right.
And I was like,
Well, I mean, my next question to that would be, what if a Japanese person who was actually a Japanese American created it? And I guess it would still be animated because it's
Depends
coming out
on
in
where.
Japan.
Well, if it's made in Japan, granted, all animations, a lot of it's done in Japan, and Asia and stuff. But like, you got to think of this where I guess the influence, the creation process came from.
Nice.
And that's not to put down Avatar: The Last Airbender, the cartoon movie, because I fucking love that show. I need to, and Voltron was okay. That's never really that. Even the original Voltron, sorry, Craig, never clicked with me that hard. And I need to watch Dragon Princess because I like their body.
I think you'll enjoy it.
Oh, speaking of
Avatar, like what you like, bro.
Speaking of Avatar: The Last Airbender, they also announced that they're doing a live-action series for Netflix, and that the original creators are working on it.
I have to tell Raj because he's a big fan of that show. Well, all right. Well, thank you. I was just as an aside, I had a question about that. So maybe we can talk about the actual tenets of that show at a later time or something. So let's move on to the main course. Let's get smothered, covered, and comicked. This is the section of the show where each week we bring a book to the table. The four of us, we pick out a book that we really, really enjoyed or that we think needs to be spoken about, and we kind of roundtable it, and it's usually a lot of fun. Now, I know we put a spoiler warning in an earlier section. These are all books, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that came out last Wednesday, and so these are fresh. These are fresh off the vine. We picked them. They still smell like the comics garden. So there are going to be at least some level of comic spoilers. So you've been warned. We hope you don't tune us out. But there's no way you can talk about some of these books without talking about what's in them. So spoiler warning.
Spoiler.
Go read your books, push the pause button, and then find out what books are in the show notes, and then come back later and join us. So y'all ready?
Yeah.
Craig, what'd you read this week?
I read Justice League Odyssey. DC, obviously. Joshua Williams wrote it. Stepan Sejic.
I think Sejic.
Sejic was the artist on it.
Well, if he mispronounced your name, feel free to come on the show and fight us.
Yeah, you'd probably recognize his name from Rat Queens. He was the second artist on Rat Queens.
Yeah. Okay, now I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so this book starts with Green Lantern of Sector 2814, number 4,352,000. No, actually, it's number 6. Jessica Cruz is out patrolling the Ghost Sector in space, which the Ghost Sector is something that was created during the events of No Justice when they released all of the planets that had been stored in the microverse, released them back out into the universe, including Tamaran. Which is Starfire's homeworld. So she's out patrolling this and trying to keep people from going into it because it's just too dangerous. There's too much radiation, all kinds of things going on. She's actually extremely bored. She thought there would be some excitement. She's bored out of her mind. She's talking to herself when all of a sudden Brainiac ship comes hauling ass right past her. And she's like, wait, what's Brainiac doing out here? Wait, why are there flames painted on the side of it?
Well, they hot rodded Brainiac ship.
Because of course it did, faster. Because Cyborg's flying it.
Oh, so, okay.
Cyborg's trying to use a mother box to, because Brainiac flies the ship by actually hooking his brain into the ship. Cyborg can't do that, so he's using his mother box to do it. And Starfire and Azrael are on the ship with them.
No shit.
Yeah, and so she doesn't know that at the time, and she's trying to stop them. Well, her ring gives out because of the radiation, and Starfire has to save her. Make a long story short, she's pissed off because why are they out there without authorization? They crash land on a planet. It's one of the planets that's been released. Well, she's wanting to know what's going on. Well, Cyborg's trying to fix... He's like, the Justice League goes out in space and we fuck everything up and we never fix it. We just leave it. He's like, so I'm coming out here to try and fix the source wall and fix what's going on with all these planets and at least try and clean up our mess. Starfire, now that Tamaran's back, is trying to find her home planet again. And Azrael is just hearing voices in his head as he do. So, well, come to find out, all 3 of them have been hearing voices in their head. And it turns out that voice is none other than Darkseid.
Who really?
He's called them all out there. And there's a very specific reason why Darkseid called those 3.
He wants to shoot him with his I-beams?
Or he wants to share a
If
vegetable.
you've read Miracle Man number 11, he no longer has an I-beam.
Does he just want to share his vegetable platter with them?
Yes, he wants to share his carrots with them. No, they all represent a god on
carrots.
different...
I'm sorry. Apocalypse carrots.
Yep.
Well, going back to Miracle Man,
right?
Scott and Big Barda took a vegetable platter to Darkseid when they went to go, quote unquote, give their baby to Darkseid to stop the war.
Oh, wow.
And so there's 9 panels of Darkseid eating carrots. It's fantastic because only Tom King can do.
So
and Mitch Gerards.
So nice. Going back to this story, apparently there's 3 different planets. There's 3 different gods that all refer to these 3 people. And Darkseid is either trying to start a war or keep a war from happening. So,
I mean, knowing Darkseid, I'm going to hedge my bets on he wants to start a war. But
he seems to be a little bit of an anti-hero at this point in this.
Really?
So this team at this point consists of the 3 that we're hearing Darkseid, and Jessica Cruz. So interesting team combo. Kind of interested to see where it's going. It was a lot of fun. It was a good fun book. Jessica Cruz is not my favorite Green Lantern. At least she wasn't when she was on Earth. I liked her in this role a whole lot.
I was going to ask, because I quit reading a lot of stuff that Jessica Cruz is in. Like, has she kind of came into her own as a Lantern? Because I'll always love the character, but there for a while she was very she was scared.
Well, she started her whole thing as she was one of them that came over from Forever Evil. She had the Green Lantern ring, whatever it was called, in the opposite realm, where
the power ring.
It was the power ring, I think.
That's what the character was.
But it
called.
Used fear instead of will.
Right.
In the ring actually controlled the person instead of the person controlling the ring. So when Rebirth started, she had gained control of that fear and actually had turned the ring into a Green Lantern ring.
Okay.
But she was an agoraphobe. she had a real hard time even adapting to going outside.
Yeah, if you're a Green Lantern, agoraphobia is not the phobia you want. You kind of have to go outside.
Which is one of the things she's learned to challenge herself, and there was a lot of growth with her and Simon in the Green Lanterns book that was out. It wasn't my book. It just didn't do it for me.
That's fair.
But I liked her in this role a whole lot as a space cop. I liked her in that role as opposed to being the protector of Earth.
Right.
So, and she can actually make constructs and stuff like that now. So it was a lot of fun. It was a good book. Anything that has Starfire in it, Azrael has always been kind of a fun Batman sidekick. Sometimes villain, sometimes good guy, depending on the story. And Cyborg actually doing something other than being the teleporter for the Justice League.
Yeah, or the cosmic cell phone.
Yeah, you completely implanted a visual in my head when you said agoraphobic Green Lantern. I just visualized a green fist coming out of a window punching a criminal. You just see the head poking out the window a little bit.
That would have been great if they did that with her.
She just makes a room, makes a house, and she floats around in the house.
That would have been great too. But she actually went in the Green Lanterns comic book. I want to say it was like the first 25 issues where she didn't even know how to make a construct.
Yeah, it took her a minute.
Yeah, she didn't have basically used green energy blasts to hit people with, but there were no constructs.
Well, and that's why her and Simon were juxtaposed together all the time, because Simon, she didn't have it, but she had a better sense of how
what being a hero should be.
Of what it should be. Simon could use his, but really was not the one that you wanted to give free rein to.
He was a little off the rails, so they balanced each other really well. There's a really cool part in this book where she calls back to Earth, or he calls her, one or the other. Anyways, they have basically a phone call, and he's like, even though we're not partners anymore, I'm always going to worry about you and check in on you. So
that's touching.
There was a pretty cool scene in there with that. But I thought it was a very good first issue, which sometimes the first issues of a comic can be very much a setup book. This was a setup book, but it had a lot of stuff going on. So it wasn't just, hey, how did the band... They actually started it with the band already on their way and then explained how they got together or why they were together.
I also say the flames painted onto the ship reminded me of my favorite Futurama joke.
Yeah.
I mean, hearing us talk about all the time. When the little kid takes over the company and he painted flames onto their delivery ship. He goes, well, we put flames on it so it'll go faster. And the old professor was like, what scientific basis do you have for that? He just looks at him and goes, I'm 8. I fucking love that.
I was kind of on the fence about picking that up because I was getting so much other stuff this week and I didn't want to start another series. But I did just because I kind of want to find out why the fuck Azrael is in space.
Right.
Voices.
Yeah.
God wills it.
So I'm interested in going down that rabbit hole.
Well, because they brought Azrael into Detective Comics. He was part of that whole team.
He's originally from Nightfall, right? Is that when he first popped up?
He I want to say yes, that he was one of them that tried to take the mantle of Batman for a while.
Either that or Hellblazer. I think didn't he play a big role in Hellblazer? Wasn't he attached to Lucifer there for a while?
I'm not sure.
Actually, Azrael took over. He took over as Batman. Well,
I thought that was the case. So, sometimes a good guy, sometimes a bad guy, sometimes a anti-hero, but he's a fun character, and I really like all of the characters that are in this book, but none of them can really sustain a book on their own. But in this book as a team, I think it's going to be fun. And it's a Justice League book that I guess technically you can say Cyborg's one of the main members of it now, but for the most part, none of these people are true Justice League
the
people.
The Big 7 or the Big 9.
Yeah, I mean, Cyborg since...
However many it is now.
Right.
Well, since in 52, they've tried to make Cyborg a main member, but to me, he's been written wrong most of the time. As you said, either the cosmic cell phone or the teleporter.
Yeah. Well, and I like that character so much better just as a Teen Titan. I think he fits in there a lot better.
I can't ever think of Cyborg without thinking of the Teen Titans Go thing, where they had the beating your meat thing, where they had what was it?
Was it the tacos versus cheeseburgers?
No. It was Raven's legs. We're first seeing that, and there was that scene where he had a thing of meat and his fist was just like pounding into it. And I was like, oh my god, did they just do that?
Yes,
I can't
they
think
did.
of Cyborg without thinking of that scene.
Yes, they did.
He's a good character. I just, up until this point, they haven't used him well attached to the Justice League, in my opinion. That's just...
Yep, mine as well. But it'll be interesting to see how he leads a team.
Right.
So I read a comic book this week.
Yeah, you did.
Spider-Geddon started up with a 0 issue this week.
Yeah.
It was good. It was, for all intents and purposes, an opener issue. It was mostly just to bring the video game Spider-Man into Spider-Geddon. It starts off with Superior Spider-Man, which we all know is Doc Ock, coming in and telling him, like, hey, we need your help. This thing is happening. And I actually just finished Spider-Verse last week. It's the same writer that wrote Spider-Verse, Christos Gage.
Mm-hmm.
The artist is Clayton Crane, and I don't know how familiar you guys are with him. He's done a lot of he did Carnage USA and Carnage Family Feud. He also did Messiah Complex, and then he did the I think it was X-Force Cable before they actually started. Or no, it was halfway through that first X-Force run that they did in early 2000s, where they had the Messiah War.
Yeah.
I think but it's really pretty art. I like it. They essentially go around and Spider-Man from the video game. It takes place after the video game ends. The main storyline of the video game. So Superior finds out that the Doc Ock of this universe is imprisoned and he had a degenerative disease from the stuff that he was working on, and he's like, I'm using this as a point of cautionary tale. Peter goes and he tells MJ that they're leaving. They actually get into a fight with Tarantula. So we kind of get to see Tarantula in the video game universe before actually seeing him in the video game, which I thought was kind of neat.
I was going to ask you that if he was in the video game or
nope. They actually had very few villains in the video game. I think there was only maybe 8 altogether. But I kind of like that because it leaves it open for them to do so many more.
It doesn't overload it on the first one.
They also decide to leave the Miles of this universe in here. And he basically explains it like, I need somebody to be here to look after the city and just in case I don't come back. So that might be something that they either do a DLC for or they could in the future of the game and stuff like that. They basically stop Tarantula and they're getting ready to go. He's saying bye to MJ. Superior Spider-Man actually leaves one of his little miniature spider drones there after seeing their Dr. Octopus, incarcerated. So I think there's going to be more with that. That might play into something. I would actually love for any of this stuff that they're doing in this to tie into the game at some point. With this being the video game universe, I think that's a really cool thing. Well, then after that, they decide to go into the universe that they're all meeting up in. In the Spider-Verse series, essentially what it was is you had this group of people called the Inheritors they were like vampires pretty much, and they would drain the life force out of a animal totem, like a character that's an animal totem.
It's almost like a psychic vampire kind of thing. Yeah,
pretty much. So their big thing was going through the web of universes, finding a spider totem and draining their life force and killing them.
Right. Does this harken back to some of the Madam Web stuff? Because wasn't she a big part of the spider totem stuff?
They kind of had some stuff because was it Silk? Did Silk have a connection? I know Silk played a big part in the previous Spider-Verse. So anyway, the whole way that it got solved in Spider-Verse was they found a universe that was completely destroyed by a nuclear war, and the Inheritors wouldn't go there. So eventually, whenever all of the spiders and stuff beat them, they pretty much threw them onto this plane to imprison them, and there was one shelter that they found, and there was an Uncle Ben Spider-Man there. So they got him from that universe, and they basically imprisoned the Inheritors there. The last story that they have in this is Jed McKay is writing, Javier Garron as the artist, and Israel Silva is the color artist. And,
Javier Garrón is dope.
Yeah.
I love that dude's artwork.
And the story in the back actually just has the universe that the Inheritors came from. They had some of the Spider-Men who their universes had been destroyed or whatnot. So they had a couple of those people were just staying there to make sure everything in the Spider-Verse is, fine. And occasionally they would build up a robot. They had one that was came from an India type setting. And his name is Pavitar. But he's really big scientist. And he's been building these robots, kind of drone things, and sending them in to check on the Inheritors and make sure they're not up to anything. So we go through a couple of segments of him with another spider person, and they keep sending these things in, and they see the Inheritors, and they're all skinny and malnourished and everything like that. And by the fourth or fifth sequence, we get to this point where you find out that they've been stockpiling the main, the control unit to these drones that they've been sending in, and they've been hooking them up because one of the Inheritors was responsible for keeping up with all the different universes and stuff.
Oh, no shit.
So somehow they're going to use this technology to make it back in and be able to get into the universes and wreak havoc and fuck some shit up pretty much. Because that story obviously took place before the main story in this because Superior Spider-Man is telling him that they're already loose. The other interesting thing about this is with them having Doc Ock's Superior Spider-Man that took place in the Superior Spider-Man series, because they did talk about how different universes can also equate to different timelines, because they had our Peter Parker that's current, but then they also had the Doc Ock that was before.
Right.
So he realized at one point, so this means that eventually he's going to win and get his body back. Well, one of the issues that comes out next week is the Superior Octopus series.
Oh, yeah.
So he's supposed to play a part in this. So I'm kind of interested in how that dynamic's going to go.
I think that we're getting Superior Spider-Man back. Mm-hmm. We're getting Doc Ock. They're calling it Superior Ock at this point or whatever.
Yeah, but, because it's...
Yeah, but I think what we're going to have is Doc Ock has decided that he is going to be a good guy. Mm-hmm. After everything that's happened and he's now back, he's going to try his best to be a good guy.
Right. As
Spider-Man again, since he still has some of Spider-Man in him, including looking like him. So that book, to me, you have a first appearance for sure of many first appearances, because you have the video game first appearances of everybody.
Right.
And then you have the reappearance of Superior.
Mm-hmm. And another thing, in the very back of it, it has a spread of all these different Spider-Men, and then it shows the Inheritors coming out of a portal. One of the characters that they have not hinted on at all, it looks like another Dr. Octopus, but a lady Dr. Octopus. So I'm kind of thinking that maybe an octopus might be another one of the animal totems. That might be popping up later. And
that'd be interesting.
Maybe we're going to see some other versions of Dr. Octopus in different universes.
I just
want to find out that Kraven's running them all.
I just want them to give you a Spider-Punk book.
I know.
That's what I want in my heart of hearts.
I need it, or at least a miniseries or something.
Yeah. You know who else wants that book? Mags Visaggio.
Yeah.
She's on Twitter, she's edging for it hard.
Yeah.
I would kill. Well, and she plays a lot of punk music anyway, so I would kill to see her get to write that book.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm all for it. I finally got to read, which big complaint about how they did that Spider-Verse book, because I bought the hardcover at SpaCon last week. So they have the main storyline in the front, and then all this tie-ins and everything that is supposed to go in the middle of that in the very back.
They separated it all. That makes it really hard. Yeah. That's like Jonathan Hickman's Avengers stuff. It makes it really hard to read.
So it's I'm finished the story, and now I'm supposed to go back and
fill in the blanks.
Read all the stuff that happened in between. I'm like, why did they do this book like this? But I'm excited about everything that's coming out of this. I cannot wait for Superior Octopus.
Nice. Well, I guess it's my turn. So I read a book. It wasn't a zero, but it sure the fuck felt like one. And that's not necessarily a complaint. I didn't dislike this book at all. So the book I read, just to get jump right in it, Heroes in Crisis, #1 of 9, came out, and it is written by the amazing Tom King and drawn by the also amazing Clay Mann and colored by Tomu Mori, who is the colorist that worked on the Batman, I think 55 book that was so controversial about. The other colorist who was actually the artist's son getting kicked off of it.
Right,
anyway, great job coloring this book. No knocks against that. So this book was, like I said, it's a #1, but it felt like a 0 issue book. It's a setup book. It's completely getting you in tuned with what is going on, or at least it's attempting to. Originally, this was supposed to be a 7-issue series. And after reading this first issue, I understand why they moved it to 9 issues, because while this was a good setup book, not a lot happened. So briefly, just to kind of give you the helicopter view of what this is. Something terrible has happened in the DC universe. There is a place called Sanctuary, which has always been hinted at, but we haven't really seen it. And it was set up by the big three, set up by the Trinity, Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, as kind of a decompression spot for heroes. With all the stuff that heroes deal with, that's got to weigh heavy on their minds. They're all, even though they are gods, they're still people. So they need a place where they can go and kind of get some help, seek counseling, deal with some PTSD, because how do they see all the destruction and hate and death that they see without it hurting them? That this book is seeking out to answer that question. So there's this place called Sanctuary. But something terrible has happened in it. Lots of people are dead. Lots of heroes are dead. People that are solidly important to the DC universe are dead. So throughout the book, you kind of understand that. And the book is actually told. So Tom King does this amazing thing in a lot of his work. He writes the past tense really well, and he's able to do it in these kind of broken, dejected storylines where he gives you a little bit and then he switches things up and he gives you another view. Like there's no continued thread. He breaks them up, and he does that a lot in this book. The story opens up with Booster Gold eating in a diner, and Booster Gold has obviously and very visually had a bad day. So he's sitting in this kind of all-American diner. And she's like, hey, it's not every day, because it's like in the middle of nowhere, right? Like there's fields all around. It's somewhere in Nebraska. The waitress is like, hey, it's not every day we get a superhero in here. And he's like, yeah. And she's like, or 2 superheroes. And he looks behind him and is like, oh, that's not a superhero. That's a villain. It's Harley fucking Quinn. Oh. And as much as Booster Gold looks like he's had a bad day, Harley Quinn has had a worse day. She's bloody. She's cut up. She's disheveled. She's not looking in good shape. And she kind of saunters up and sits at the desk next to him, at the bar next to him. Nothing happens. The waitress is like, is there going to be a fight? And Booster's like, yeah, there's going to be a fight. But they don't just jump into fisticuffs. That's not what's going to happen. She orders a piece of pie and sits next to him. And they have a conversation, and she gets into, there's a little bit of, there's a diatribe that has a lot of subtext to it. And you realize that both of them know what they're talking about. Neither one of them is coming out and saying it. And the shit's about to go down. And the shit indeed does go down. And she stabs the fuck out of Booster Gold with a pie knife. It's not a butter knife. It's a little bit sharper than that. Anyway, she just starts ending this dude. And they jump up in the air. And I'm trying to, so it's hard to speak about this book because this book is broken. It's a broken series of events. There is no single thread. So these are going through pages. By the end of the book, they're up in the air. Booster is flying, getting stabbed, and both of them fall to the ground. And they start talking about, while this is happening, the events that have taken place that has led to the death of all of these people in the DC universe. I'm trying to be very vague because even though this is a spoiler section, I don't want to come out and ruin the ending of this 0 issue that plays to set up everything. But as this is happening, Tom King interjects these 9-panel grids in every couple of pages, and it's spotlighting different heroes. It's basically, if you would imagine somebody was recording, a therapist was recording a therapy session with different heroes, and kind of getting them to talk to what they say. It's just kind of like if somebody were interviewing me about alcoholism, and it would be me like, oh yeah, no, fuck it. And by the ninth grade, it's like, yeah, no, I need help. And that's not actually a cry for help. I'm doing okay. So don't send me messages. But some of these characters are very well known in the DC universe, such as Harley Quinn. You get this really, really moment where she's like, I don't believe in trauma. No, I get it. I'm a therapist. I get that people think that trauma is happening, and I've had to listen to these people whine and moan in your position. But what I should have been doing is beating them to death with a sledgehammer, which is hilarious. But she's actually getting in therapy. By the end of it, she's she just starts crying. So you know that there is something like weighing on her, because Harley Quinn, like, having this emotional break is a very poignant moment nonetheless. Like there's something there.
Now, granted, I haven't been reading modern Harley Quinn, but you have made me so happy to hear that Tom King is doing what I hoped he would have done with her.
Oh, yeah.
Because, granted, they may touch on it in the new series, but it doesn't feel like, from the response I get from current fans of the current books, that Harley is a tragic character.
Oh, she is.
And it doesn't seem like they're treating her like that anymore, but God bless her.
I'm honestly shocked that you didn't pick this up.
I bought my books and then saw it on the counter and forgot about it. It's in my box. I'm getting it.
If it makes
I'm going up there after I can toss one in your box.
No, it's in my box.
Oh, is it? Okay.
I just gotta wait.
If it makes any difference to you or anyone else, this is primarily going to be a Harley Quinn Booster Gold story.
Awesome.
This is going to focus on them. But there's some other characters that get this treatment too. Blue Jay, who is I really don't know a lot about him. He can grow and shrink. There is a side character.
That's the point. Is it's a couple of them are characters we're not supposed to.
Yeah, there's another character named Hotspot that I've never seen before, and then there's characters
breaking out these.
He really does. There's also characters like Speedy. Roy is in this, and he does kind of that same thing. And we all know that Roy has had problems with addiction and everything else. And so all of these people, all of these heroes or anti-heroes, have came to this place to kind of some semblance of peace of mind, some recovery. They want to work through some things that they've had to see being heroes. Some of it works really well, some of it doesn't. Like you said, Tom King really likes playing extremely. Tom King plays with these characters extremely well, especially like these fourth tier characters.
Right.
In a book like this, though, I don't know if it works that well because you haven't gotten us to invest emotionally in those characters. I have no clue who Hotspot is.
But I have a theory to that, but I'll wait till you're done.
Yeah, for sure. I have no clue who Hotspot is. There's nothing that really makes me care about this character, and we see his death before we see him. He is one of the characters that's gone. When Tom King plays with characters like Kite Man, he spends some time and he gets us to invest a little bit in them. This we don't have time to, so their death doesn't hit me as much. Right. The same with this character. I think it's Blue Jay. He's dead too, and he's honestly one of the most gruesome things because, like I said, this character can grow and shrink. Apparently, this character died while he was shrunken, and a fucking raven is eating him, and that's the first time we see him. Yeah, it's sick.
That was like one of the first panels. Yeah, Superman was like scouting the area, and then you see
he's flying. Head, flying overhead, and it's Clayman on art, dude. Anyway. I'll get to Clayman here in just a second. You go inside Sanctuary and you see these, I guess they're androids or cyborgs or something they were set up to kind of control Sanctuary to keep things going, and they look like Ma and Pa Kent. And there's another one who is, I guess, meant to model after a woman of color who I'm not necessarily sure who it is. Maybe somebody can reach out and tell us. But they've been trashed and broken. Something crazy has gone here. Some other really big deaths that do we want to? Kind of come out and say it.
Just do it. Man, spoilers, everybody. Spoilers.
Yeah, it's fucking. It's Kid Flash.
So it's not Kid Flash anymore.
No, he's grown. It's
Wally.
Wally West, and also Roy Harper, fucking dead. And so Superman is going through and just confirming all of these deaths. And he's just breaking. He's having that moment. He's stuttering. He can't get his words. He can't believe what he's seeing. He's the Boy Scout walking upon a train wreck. He doesn't know what to do. I enjoyed it as a setup book. I don't know if this is Clayman's best work. I'm not prepared to say that, but it's at least some of the top tier of his work. These pages are gorgeous. There's one full page in here that it is tiered, and it is Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman. Some of the best depictions of those characters I've ever seen Clayman do. He is at the top of his game, at least. Like I said, I'm not prepared to say this is like the best work he's ever done because he's done some amazing work. And Mori colors his work like the tone is perfect. We say this all the time, that a lot of times the color palette has an amazing and a drastic effect on the tone of the book. Mori nails it in this. Like the colors are bright when they need to be, they're muted when they need to be. The shift differentials between shadow and light are outstanding. One of my favorite panels in this book takes place right at the beginning, and it's at the diner, and you get Harley and you get Booster in the background sitting at it, but over on the right side of the page, it's just the outline of a waitress carrying a coffee cup, and it's one of the most gorgeous pieces of line art I've ever seen. It's phenomenal. I think the story as a setup book would have worked better if you used some maybe B-level characters as opposed to C or D-level characters. Like if they had given us some of the Bat characters that were used so well in DC or in Detective Comics, or if they use some of the tangential characters that are used in Action Comics, people that we might know, especially people like myself who aren't as in-depth in the DC universe. I don't know who Hotspot is.
Can I go ahead and...
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Thing here. I think he did that because he wants these deaths to be known that they are permanent deaths. And if you use a B level, they're going to bring those people back. He's setting this up that these are permanent deaths. Now, is Wally and Arsenal permanent deaths? We'll see on that. But
I hope not.
And you get that amazing scene of when Superman flies in overhead and he's looking down and then he zooms in on the one spot. But it's littered with dead bodies.
Oh, there's
we don't even know who's
20
all
or 30.
At this point.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So, and you've got Wonder Woman is flying, trying to catch Superman, who's going at super speed to get there. And then you got Batman coming in on the Batjet, saying, "Don't touch a damn thing till I get there." It's, yeah. So,
and they're treating it like a crime scene. It's like the carnage is real. And to touch on something you just said, so in comic books, we never walk in assuming that a death is death. They always come back. If he is trying to show that these are permanent deaths, I get it, and actually that's pretty cool. Most people would probably think I'd be upset about Roy Harper because I really love Red Hood and him as part of the Outlaws. If that is the case here, I'm going to get a little upset, like just inside, not like burn a book or anything, but that is a
stab the book.
That is a disservice to Wally West. Because we just got him back after being absent from the DC universe for years. And he played such a big moment in Rebirth, coming back and connecting with the Flash. We haven't had him back that long. If they go and permanently kick him out of the universe right now, that's a really big disservice to that character.
And I mean, just with them using Crisis in the title,
right?
Like DC doesn't do they don't put Crisis in the title unless something huge is going on.
One of the main characters in this is a time traveler, but notably absent is Skeets.
Yeah.
And so that I think is that absence is worth noting.
It's got a very identity crisis type situation going on.
But better
with
written.
the deaths just right off the bat.
Right.
So figure out how this happened.
I saw something when I was doing, because I have thought about doing this book too. And so I was doing some homework on this book outside of that. And one thing that somebody said that I was like, holy crap, I didn't think of it that way. The only person that likes Barry Allen better than Wally West is Jeff Johns. The rest of the world prefer all of us that did not grow up in the Silver Age, prefer Wally West as Flash.
Yep.
And we've been, since New 52 started, wanting Wally West back, and we finally get him, and then for them to gut us this way.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been getting the Titans book just so I could have a Wally West book. I think what's happening is very intentional.
Oh, I do too. And I gotta give a shout out again to the cover art on this book, because you get this beautiful display of all of these characters. From the top tier to the lowest tier. And they're all on here, and he's holding a mask of one of the characters. There's a lot of blood. It's speaking to the wreckage that's in this book. It's a beautiful cover. And on the last page of the book, where we get to is that we find out that while Harley and Booster have been fighting, you generally assume that Harley's the bad guy in the situation because A, she's insane, B, she's Harley, C, she walked in covered in blood. Things might not be what they appear, though. It looks like Booster Gold might be the one who's responsible for all of this wreckage and death.
Booster Gold fucked everything up.
Very possibly. Very
Damn it, Tom
possibly.
King. Now you're just stealing.
No.
No. He's a world. I would say world class, but a time class fuck up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how he should be. In my opinion.
I did not catch that Skeeter wasn't in it. Don't ask me how I didn't catch that until you said it. But for those of us going back to 52, when Brewster Gold kind of got his reintroduction and was
utilized in one
kind of
better ways.
reimagined for DC at that time, Skeeter has been his conscience the entire time. Skeets. His
Skeeter. It's okay.
I keep going back to Muppets. Every time I say Skeeter.
Sorry. Skeets has been his conscience this whole time. So without Skeets there to kind of keep him in flow, I'm sure, I have no doubt that Booster thinks he's doing the right thing.
Right.
And there's some reason why. And it's Tom King.
Oh, but he doesn't even remember it. That's the thing.
We
It's
don't
like
know
he doesn't. He sure doesn't act like it.
And that's what I'm trying to remember exactly, because we get into time travel and alternate times, it all gets confusing. And the Batman wedding present thing,
Right.
he fucked up again.
I can't remember.
Got destroyed.
I can't remember if he's been
don't know
fixed.
what time continuity that shit was.
Yeah,
so.
I'm wondering that
They
myself.
destroyed
man.
Skeets in that story.
That's right.
I don't know.
And it was
And I
Tom
haven't
King
read
as
it
well.
yet.
I'm very interested to
Love
see where this book goes. Very interested, because I mean the question of PTSD has been long asked and long underserved, and so I'm curious to see where this goes.
I read another book this week that talked about Arsenal being at maybe it was Flash talked about Wally West being
at Sanctuary.
Sanctuary,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, okay. Well, they are tying everything in. So it seemed like an all-in book to me. It's a crisis, like Gary said. When DC puts crisis in the title, shit's going to go down.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
I'm mad I didn't grab it this week.
It's
Sorry,
worth
I'm
my-
getting spoiled.
Well, what did you grab this week, buddy?
Oh, it's my turn.
It is.
My book of the week actually is Domino, annual number 1.
I read this too, man.
Was that annual or anal?
Yes.
I hate you all so much.
This is if you're not familiar, if you've never read an annual before, typically they are side stories with multiple creators, writers, artists, all that kind of stuff working on it. This one is no different. It actually has 5 different stories in it with a different creative team on each one. I'll break them down as I go through a quick summary about each of the chapters. The first one was called Dead Drunk in a Dry Gulch, written by Gail Simone. Artist is Victor Ibanez. As good as I can. I apologize. And colorist is J. David Ramos. It is an origin story of how Domino and Diamondback found Outlaw.
Oh, nice.
To recruit her into their group. Opening up, of course, with Domino in the present time, getting ready for a long day with multiple missions she got to do, as she is a mercenary. With as best as I can guess, is Warpath still sleep in their bed, naked. So Domino and Warpath had some fun before she set on the long mission. But then it flashes back, and you see the art style changes up from the first page into the past story of them, of Diamondback and Domino, just kind of needing one more member for their team that she's trying to form. This is when they form their posse, as it were. And you get into a good old, this being outlawed, had to be a country western bar where she's just hanging out and getting one cowboy walks over and tries to go buy her a drink. And when she was turned down in typical angry internet person fashion, called her a frickin' mutie when she turned him down.
Yeah.
Then proceeds to whoop all their asses, in which Domino and Diamondback come in. A little misunderstanding between them and Outlaw. Great sequence of this action, and them all kind of like they kind of offer Outlaw not team up yet. They offer her a position. They're like, we're here to recruit you. You're what we need.
Well, that's how you make friends in superhero world. You got to fight first.
You got to fight first.
Yes. But she's already employed. She's already employed by the scientist called Professor Salvage,
which is a throwback.
Is he?
Oh yeah, he's an old character.
Yeah, because Domino acted like she knew who he was. I wasn't really sure. I didn't do my homework on this character, explaining that he's a mutant hater.
Yeah,
who hired a mutant because he doesn't plan to pay her.
He comes from, I forget where he was at, but he's an old character that doesn't get used a lot. So it was great seeing them dig into that well.
And they said he was out there looking for in the scrapyard, as his name is Salvage.
Right.
He shows up with a with a car now rigged up with a sentinel helmet or a head and some guns, and he's going to destroy all mutants.
Wow.
And then he's promptly taken care of in a scene that, like I said, ends with them forming the trio that we've known at least for this current Domino run. I don't know if they've been a big team up in the past.
I don't think so.
We then cut to the second story called The Good Fight. This one is written by, I'm going to brutalize his name, Fabian Nicieza?
Fabian Nicieza. Original Deadpool guy.
Exactly. I knew the name, but I've never been able to pronounce it.
The original Domino guy.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or, copycat or whatever.
The artist was Juan Gideon, and colorist for this one was Jesus Abertov.
This was some of my favorite art in this book.
Indeed. And just for the record, to save a little bit of time, Jesus Abertov did the color for the rest of the book.
Yeah.
But this one opens up with Domino leaving a circus after shooting a ringmaster in the head, dressed as a clown, and it's amazing. Then it cuts to a scene, which I don't remember if it was early X-Force or at the end of New Mutants, where Cable and Domino are sharing a bath together. And this becomes a deep introspective into Cable. It's just like they're just having this conversation, but then you just cut into like his life, his mission, and just goes into what he's fighting for. You see just broken panels from obviously different scenes of his life, and the wars he's gone through in time and his missions. And one thing that gives me even acknowledging, showing Domino that it seemed like when it was still what was her name? Who was faking Domino? Copycat. Thank you. It seemed like he knew, because he mentioned he's looking at her and knows this is not her.
Right.
It's just she was an imposter playing me, and I wanted to be played.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of knew, but he was okay with it. Cable, obviously, a very broken character from a fucked up future. Yeah, so kind of working with that, I thought it was very interesting. It's kind of like what's been a Domino heavy book is suddenly turned into very much about Cable, who has a long connection with Domino. At least as far as I haven't really read much Cable since X-Force days, starting X-Force in the 90s. So that was really good. I enjoyed that. That kind of came out of left field from what I was expecting from a Domino annual. So I really dug that story. After that, we have Rebound, written by Dennis Hopeless, art by Leonard Kirk, and again, Jesus Abertov.
It's always fun seeing Dennis Hopeless work on a book. I love that guy. He doesn't
not super familiar with him.
Oh, he's done some good stuff.
But every one of these stories, like these writers now, I hope I'll try to remember their names because I enjoyed every story, which is rare for
an annual. Yep.
Yeah. This one, again, Domino working through her day of having multiple missions she had to do. Coming out of the swamp after doing another one of her many hits for the day. Getting changed up, and then it cuts out of the swamp into her flying a Russian helicopter. Heading towards Colossus, who is sitting on a cliff edge drinking some wine that I have left over from. I did not read the wedding of him and Shadowcat, and I guess it didn't turn out well. Didn't happen at all.
Yeah, he kind of got left at the altar too.
Ouch.
They did a lot of the same Batman stuff.
They addressed a little bit, but I didn't read that storyline. But I thought I remember that they hadn't done it. So he's obviously reeling from that. He's still in a tux, so I'm assuming this is happening right after.
Mm-hmm.
Domino crashed, dodged a missile in said Russian helicopter, and she parachutes out, lands next to Colossus, and tosses him Crimson Dynamo's original helmet. Explaining that the new one's not too happy, and then you see him flying in, who was chasing her in the helicopter. Colossus metals up and starts whooping some ass.
Yeah.
Domino, kind of a narrative from Domino's end of how they used to be in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
They knew it was really good, but they also knew it couldn't work. Something, as relationships are complicated, especially I can imagine amongst heroes and mercenaries and all that.
He wasn't Mr. Right, but he was Mr. Right then.
Right. Something, and she still just, it goes on. It's a long fight against Crimson Dynamo. You want to say dynamite or something.
I see King Diamond in the X-Men world.
Something, man. Words are tougher. But they end up beating him, and Colossus actually gives Domino a kiss, which she seems surprised, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know." She's like, "Nah, you're good." And
yeah, he's hurting, man. He needs some comfort.
She go give him some of that good healing.
Yeah. Sexual healing.
All right, from there we get to Domino and the Rejects.
Mm-hmm.
This one's written by Leigh Williams. Art is Natasha Bustos, and again, Jesus on colors.
Mm-hmm.
This one opens up with Domino in a schoolgirl outfit, finishing off another hit of an old man in a playground with a little girl saying thank you so much. While not saying what's going on, but she's killing an old man in front of a little girl. I'm assuming some stuff was being inappropriately done.
Yeah, there's some context there.
And she admitted this one she would have done for pro bono because fuck him.
Yeah.
And good on you. We cut now to one of my favorite Marvel character and comic characters in general, Nightcrawler.
Yep.
He is in a meeting they call Mindfulness for Mutant Appearances. This is a help group for mutants that are born that don't look like a normal human being.
Yeah, they don't pass.
Yeah. And we have various characters whom they don't actually name. So I don't remember a lot
Eyeball
of
and Dupe.
Do I see Dupe?
I can remember Dupe. I can remember Dupe's name. Eyeball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eyeboy.
Is it
Yeah.
Beak? I think.
Yeah,
Is,
Beak.
The bird. I don't know who this blue guy with the leech. Maggot? Oh, it is Maggot.
Yep, it is Maggot.
He used to be drawn a lot bigger, didn't
Yeah.
he? Okay. Marrow, I recognize that. I have no idea who this cat person is, looking person.
I forget. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Is she one of
It's a he.
the pirates? Oh, never
It's a
mind.
he.
Yeah.
And which, side note, made me crack up just because it was like, I know how I look, and I'm also tired of hearing about all y'all can quit telling me all about your fan fiction about me and Beast. Which I need to know more about that. But it is them just talking about all their, except for Dupe, who speaks his own language, but they're all just kind of, you just get quick blurbs about like what's going on, how they're, obviously deal with their lives and not looking like a normal human being. Then it cuts to a character who looks like a perfectly normal human being.
Right.
She calls herself Stacy X. So I'm not familiar with this character.
I think it was a Grant Morrison used her. I think it was in the Morrison run. I could be wrong.
She explains how she is now depowered and looks normal. So I guess she used to look different before.
Yeah.
And she's dealing with that. And it's like, at first all the others are like, she looks normal. She can get away with anything. Why are you in here? And Nightcrawler being the awesome motherfucker that he is. My apologies, unclear. I mean, this is literally a safe place to be.
Yeah. It's Toad that they say that too, right?
Well, Toad's in there, and I think some other villain. Yeah, it is just Toad. I'm sorry, you're absolutely.
No, it's been a minute since I read that. So,
but what I just loved are like, I don't know. Some are like, what if something starts off? We got a villain literally sitting in here,
mm-hmm.
and he's like, "You are in a safe place. You signed an agreement, and if anyone should attempt to dishonor that agreement, I am a highly decorated X-Man with combat proficiency unrivaled by anyone else in this room. Nobody's getting hurt while I'm here, y'all." Yeah. Like, thank you, fucking.
That's Nightcrawler.
Kurt Wagner. I fucking love Nightcrawler.
He's a great character, man.
And this is bearded awesome Nightcrawler.
I was going to ask, where do you stand on bearded Nightcrawler? How do you feel about the beard?
Make everything better, as we all well know.
I agree.
And I'm digging, I think we kind of addressed it before when I was talking about the new X-Men book where I first saw him on the cover with a beard. It's like they always called him the blue furball, but they never drew him fuzzy. He just looked blue skin. Now he is a blue furball.
Took him from twink to kink, man. It just,
But yeah, so anyway, Stacy X goes on about how she's now dealing with looking human, which looks weird to her. So, it kind of goes in the deep end. They find acceptance. Domino gets in there and explains why she started the Domino and Nightcrawler. Obviously, Domino being, the bleached skin with the eye patch. And she's dealt with that her whole life, too. And they all end up just starting getting, you understand. Like, they're talking about who they are. They have to love who they are. And you even see them embracing Stacy X. So, some of them weren't too happy about her being in there. That was really nice. Then it ends with... what I thought was going to go another direction, knowing Domino, like Nightcrawler and Domino up in her place. Like, oh, hell yeah. I was happy for Nightcrawler. But he's just playing with her dog as she goes to bed. But he does say he will steal her little pug.
Are he and Rachel still a thing?
I'm so behind on X books, I can't tell you.
I think they might have just recently broken up, but him and Rachel were a thing for a hot minute.
I kind of quit reading Rachel Gray.
Summers. Rachel Summers, Rachel Gray.
Yeah.
Rachel
Phoenix.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Phoenix.
I forget what stupid hero name they gave her, but it sucked, so I ignored it.
She's supposed to be Phoenix in Excalibur. That's the last time I've read anything with Rachel in it.
She's in X-Gold, yeah.
She's been in a lot of books over time, but it's, what is she? Their child from the future?
Yeah.
Grandchild?
Something.
Jean's
it's a Summers thing. Summers fucking up the timeline is just kind of a thing.
The Summers and the Skywalkers just fucking...
Everything that they do is probably wrong.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot that the ending of the meeting and her talking with Nightcrawler are actually two different people. Oh, actually, no, it's still Leigh Williams and Jesus Abertov writing and coloring. But Michael Shelford did the art for the very last page.
Very cool.
Of her talking with Nightcrawler. And like I said, annuals are definitely very separated from the normal stories, and I'm not usually one to buy them. But Domino has been such a phenomenal series since it started. I bought it up, and not with high expectations, but there were tie-ins showing how Outlaw, Diamondback, and her got together. They even brought up Topaz and what's been going on with that a little bit. So, I mean, there's been the tie-ins, plus, like I said, with Colossus. So, it doesn't feel an out of sort book. It's not like a what if. It's not an alternate reality, which sometimes annuals kind of feel because they're just a side story.
No, man, this one, like you said, it relates back to what's been actually happening in that series, and I think annuals have to do that. And I also love the fact that it was kind of an anthology book. You can get all these different stories and not just one offshoot that doesn't matter that's going to be forgettable. This actually, you can read this if you haven't read anything else that's come out in the past year, and you get a feel for what's happening. It's an annual, which is what they're meant to be.
Exactly.
So
it's a perfect compendium to what's been going on at Domino.
Yeah.
And I also kind of liked how it did feel like, other than it cut away to stuff, but it was just one day in the life of Domino.
Yeah.
I really dug that.
Well,
very cool.
Good books all around. There were a bunch of good. I don't know about you guys. I had a little bit of trouble picking out what I wanted to talk about. Old Man Logan was really good this past week. Craig, did you read that one?
I did. I really liked it. The art in it was phenomenal.
It was, and I've never.
There were 2 spreads on there that.
Ibram Robinson is the guy's name, and Ibram found a way to really make his art nestle in with the art that's came before it. Like he mimics their style, but he also puts his own independent twist on it, which is really hard to do. Sometimes you can either do your own thing or do someone else's thing. It's really hard for you to make a good blend of both, and he really did. Plus, you get Maestro with horns. So, fuck yeah.
I have a few, but I'll talk about one. We'll let other people talk.
Mm-hmm.
Action Comics number 1003 had a really good bit with Batman having to pull some kryptonite off of somebody that works with Clark Kent.
Right.
That got it for reasons. And Batman takes it from her and makes a comment about telling Clark that he's going to turn it into a friendship necklace, which is fantastic. But I want to... What the hell is Bendis doing with this book? Are you reading it?
Nope.
Collecting a paycheck?
I mean, last I know, Lois Lane left the planet with John, did she not?
Yeah, that's one of the things I was assuming. They kind of...
And this book ends with Lois Lane sitting in a hotel typing her manuscript for her novel she's doing.
Or is she?
So she's back, maybe?
Multiple Lois Lanes.
Maybe it's a hotel in space.
Well, my first thought was maybe it's New 52 Lois Lane, but then I remembered she died in Superwoman.
Right.
So I don't know what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
I'm not sure Bendis knows what's going on. I mean, it was a fun book, don't get me wrong, but that last page just kind of threw me off.
I'm probably going to pick up, was it 1005 that they're bringing the question back, right?
Yeah.
I'll probably pick that up, but I don't...
I promise you this, you won't know what's going on.
Yeah.
I'm just confused on where Bendis is going with the whole Superman thing at this point. I'm not saying it's bad writing or that it's bad stories. Maybe he's giving us hints to something, but it just feels disjointed.
Yeah, I think he's doing the Bendis thing, planting a lot of seeds that we're going to see come to flower later.
And then he's going to leave before he's done telling his story.
Very possibly.
And it's going to be like Leonardo da Vinci.
Always. If it doesn't go back to Leonardo da Vinci, I'm going to be disappointed.
Did you read anything else?
I got one other book because I didn't pick up Heroes in Crisis because I'm dumb. Was actually Rick and Morty and Dungeons and Dragons number 2.
I also read that,
which
So
was awesome. Again, just highlighting Dungeons and Dragons and only the way Rick and Morty and who's the writer on it?
Jim Zub is one of the writers.
Jim Zub is one of them, and then I forget the other guy's name.
It was Zub I was trying to remember though. He's it's been amazing. It feels like the cartoon.
It was issue 2?
Issue 2.
When Beth puts on the barbarian costume.
I guess I didn't sign up.
Like I just want to smash things and drink. You like barbarian for you.
And then her comment. Did you catch her comment?
I'm trying to remember.
She says, "Now I know what's good in life."
Yeah,
she did.
I saw it.
And like Summer revealing that she watched, like she lied and said she played D&D, but she watched, but then she broke out like, "I'm a rogue." Like I'm a rogue. It gives her some armor, and it's a typical scantily clad. Like no, I'm thinking,
she referenced Batgirl.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Yes, you're like, no, I'm thinking more Batgirl, and then she
Yeah.
got like the chainmail full armor, and the highlight of that moment was like they're going into combat. Morty's stuck being the cleric, and then suddenly you just see Summer behind 2 goblins with their like arms crossed and like almost like Wolverine fashion, and they're like, oh shit, this is where the thieves make their money. Backstab, and she just wrecks them. Like it's. I mean, if you're not reading this book and you like tabletop RPGs, you're doing something a disservice.
Yeah.
Check it out.
Well, and it says a lot that
You hate Rick and Morty.
I don't hate. I strongly.
Hateful.
It's not.
He's gonna read enough Rick and Morty comics and then realize that he actually does like Rick and Morty.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I've watched enough Rick and Morty to know I don't like watching Rick and Morty, but Rick and Morty works really well, at least when Jim Zub is writing it in comic form. It works better than the show ever has for me.
We'll get there.
Fantastic book series. I'm pretty sure pulling a miniseries.
Yeah.
I think it's 6 issues or something, 5 or 6.
If you're not buying them individually, look for it on trade. It's been great, especially if you love Dungeons and Dragons or any kind of tabletop RPG.
Man-Eaters was great this week.
Yeah, it was.
The Edge of Spider-Geddon was pretty good. It's probably what I would have talked about had I not, because it was like Norman Osborn in this huge point of power. He was the Spider-Man, and Harry was the Goblin in it. And that had a big tie-in to alternate universes, so that was pretty cool. Doomsday Clock, though.
Yeah,
Doomsday Clock.
I actually had Doomsday Clock on here to talk about.
Yeah.
I mean, Ozzy's not got cancer.
Yep, he kind of undid Rorschach.
Rorschach's whole world is turned upside down.
Dr. Manhattan's back, and apparently at some point him and fucking Superman are gonna have some kind
He's
of battle.
back, but he still doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
We now know that his penis is smaller than Batman's.
Yes. Mime and Marionette are pregnant
Again. Yeah.
again.
Dude, if they don't keep those characters, if they do not keep and do something with those characters, some of the best villains that have been written in years.
Yeah.
They are fantastic.
Yeah, it was a really good book. It looks like either Dr. Manhattan or Superman's going to destroy the multiverse.
Yeah. It's looking pretty crazy.
If they can make it come out regularly, that'd be awesome.
They mentioned the Creeper.
They do mention the Creeper.
They
I
did
was
mention
like,
the Creeper.
Come on. But they throughout the issue they kept you know how when Ozymandias had like all the screens and all the TV news stations, they basically were doing that.
Right.
They combined that in this issue with Dr. Manhattan talking about like where he is in time as well.
And he can't keep track of where he is.
Yeah, he seems like he's kind of displaced and he can't figure out.
He's
where
out of touch with reality
Uh-huh.
at this point.
Yeah.
You have anything else?
No, well, I mean, there's tons of stuff, but I think
Dick
we should
Tracy
probably need
number
to.
1 that the All Reds worked on.
Let's drop some titles. We ain't got to get into it.
Cyber Force number 6 came out. I love that. I'm a 90s kid, so Image stuff came out. Marvel 2-in-1 was really good. It's better than Fantastic Four. I don't know why we can't have
reading it.
I don't know why we can't have Chip Zdarsky writing Fantastic Four.
Apparently his was it Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man that he's been doing has been fantastic.
Yeah, I've heard good things.
They're spectacular.
Yeah, I've heard
actually
really good things.
he's actually leaving the book.
Yeah. I think this was his last issue this week.
Yeah, but Dick Tracy was really good. They put him into a modern setting, kind of a Dirty Harry-esque kind of cop now. He won't follow the rules because he's going to do what's right. And so crime mob in, I think it's Chicago, actually brings him in to clean up the town because the new mayor is going to clean up the town and she's actually taking control of the town and they want the control back. So it was actually really good. I was surprised.
Good. Yeah, I was hoping they were going to do something cool with that character when I saw him coming out. Well, all right. Well, let's great books all around. Can't wait to do this again next week. But before we get to next week, what's coming out next week that you guys are wanting to pick up? Get ahead of ourselves a little bit. What are y'all grabbing off the shelf this week? Some dessert, if you will.
My book for next week is Juke Joint. T. Franklin and Aletha Martinez.
Yes.
Horror in the Deep South at a jazz bar in New Orleans in 1950s. I'm down for that. Basically, I think it has to do with men being inappropriate to females in the bar, but there's a whole group of undead females that this voodoo woman's controlling. So I'm in.
Yeah. I'm excited about this.
The art looks fantastic. The story looks great. So awesome.
So the one I'm going to read and suggest people pick up, Batman the Max Arkham Dreams #1. It's John Layman and Sam Keith. Sean, I know you like the Max, right?
I watched a little bit. I can't say I'm a fan. I don't have any of the books. But,
okay.
The cartoon interested me a lot more than the comic did back in the day.
It's the epitome of the 90s. This big, oversized, kind of a Hulk homage that Sam Keith did in the big break.
I was going to wait till after the show, but you just said the epitome of the 90s. And like, y'all can remember if John Paul was Batman or whatever. No, he was. And he is the epitome of the 90s.
Oh, yes, he is.
When he was Batman.
Yes.
I don't know if any of y'all remember this costume. And for those listening, just look up Jean Azrael as Batman. You want to see
screenshot
90s,
that.
90s as fuck. I'll post it.
That's the one that I always go to.
So John Lehman's the guy that did Chew.
Yep.
And is doing the Viathon.
The Mighty Layman.
Yep. He's really good.
Yeah, man. I'm excited to pick this book up.
Indeed. Well, I too am excited about a Batman book coming out next week, and that's going to be Batman number 56. Like, again, I'm so happy to be excited for this Batman series again after the last few issues haven't been great, but the last issue was amazing, and this one's continuing after spoilers. If you haven't read it yet, I'm pretty sure we talked about it last episode anyway.
We did.
After Nightwing being shot in the head by KG Beast.
Yeah.
At the end of the last issue, Batman's on a tear looking for him, and it's basically now Batman's the description they're giving the previews for it is that he has gone darker and angrier than he's ever been. After everything that's happened to him,
Can't blame him.
He's going to get fucked up.
Yep.
So I can't wait to see what else is going to go on in this series.
I hope Batman crosses the line.
I have like 82 Marvel books that are coming out I'm excited about next week.
Pick one, Jerry.
No. Superior Octopus. Shatterstar. Never thought I'd be excited about that. And then Champions 25.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's they're starting their their D&D homage, which is Jim Zub, the same guy who's writing
so
Dungeons and Dragons and Rick and Morty.
I am all about everything that's happening in Marvel next week.
So good. Well, all right, let's bring this thing home. Thank you for listening. Thank you for hanging out with us for this little bit. We really hope you've enjoyed what you heard. If you have, head on over to our iTunes, if maybe that's how you found our feed. Leave us a rating and review. It helps us out. It gets us a little bit more exposure. It also lets people who are looking for new podcasts know that we might be a quality thing to listen to, and we want that. We put a lot of work and effort into this, I think, and really enjoy bringing it to you guys in the best ways that we can. As we stated at the beginning of the show, come on social media. Hang out with us. Get on our Facebook page. Find us on Instagram. Find us on Twitter. Talk to us. Tell us what you're interested in. Tell us what you're reading. Show me pictures of your pull list, things you're doing. It's building a community. We really want to do that because we really like just the positive parts of nerd culture. People who want to be kind to other people and enjoy these things that we all love. You can email us if you so choose. Do people still email, or am I just old?
I get email every day. I get 100 emails.
Let's say you're old and people email.
Okay, so the answer to that is best. You can email us at southernfriedgeekery@gmail.com, and that might be the way to go more in-depth if you have a more in-depth thing. Come back for more.
Or if you just don't want it on social media.
Come back for more. We'll be back next Sunday to sit around the table and share some Southern Fried Geekery. Other than that, go forth and love some comics.